it's hilarious at this point if you think about just no, it was not that long ago where we were upset about a quarterback catching his own pass or Indianapolis Colts blown lead in the playoffs and everything like that, and here we are, and the Chiefs, we all know they've been in the middle of a dynasty and they're going for a three-peat. They are 2 wins away from doing something that no other franchise in NFL history has done. That is just crazy to say out loud. And yeah, they're not only in their 7th straight, Cody, but the fact that all but one has been at Arrowhead too.
It's kind of crazy.
To have it in your backyard just adds to it. And that's what we get on Sunday night when the Buffalo Bills, who we'll talk about throughout the week and we'll get into in a second, that's who gets to come back into town. And we all know the earlier regular season matchup. It sets up kind of a revenge aspect to it on both the AFC and the NFC side for that matter. I mean, it's rematches on both ends. The Chiefs are trying to get revenge. The Eagles are trying to get revenge over the Commanders in their game. So it's going to be an unbelievable week, an unbelievable Sunday in the NFL. But how the Chiefs did it, too, against the Texans. We discussed how we thought the game was going to go and everything like that. This was a Chiefs team that didn't force a turnover, that didn't have a turnover either. And we said, hey, can the Texans win if it's a clean game? And we're like, we didn't think so. There were other elements, though. You go through and you're like, okay, they had more third downs and they had more yards, and you just keep going. And you're trying to figure what
all 4 teams had more yards lost this weekend.
Yeah. But it was in all the other games. It was there was turnovers. In this game, there were no turnovers. It was the play we just heard Mitch Holthus call that when you have to have it. How many times have we said it? There's nobody better in the world when you have to have it. And in that case, they had to have that, and it was an unbelievable throw, to say the least, to Travis Kelce. The moment you have to have it, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have always stepped up. When have they not?
Never. I mean, there's a reason why you play in 7 consecutive AFC title games. I'm sure somewhere later in the week, we will actually diagnose the history behind what it takes in order to accomplish the things we're talking about. But the fact yesterday was a quintessential Chiefs game of 2024 specifically. If you had spent the entire time watching the Chiefs this year and you're like, how did they win? Like that, roughly. Did you walk out of the game being like, that team's an unstoppable juggernaut, capable of enforcing their will? Not necessarily. Did they do more things than their opponent to win? Yes. Did they keep the Texans essentially at arm's length the entire game? Yes. Did the Texans possess the ball with a chance to go take the lead from the Chiefs? Not really. And so when you start looking at it that way, they won in a way that I would anticipate them winning a lot of times during the regular season. This is an improbable run. There's no doubt. But yesterday's game highlighted the things we know. Andy Reid is the better coach. Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback. Travis Kelce is a monster when the postseason starts. All the normal things that exist inside of the window that we've come to know about the Chiefs. All of those things were true yesterday. Also, not guarding Travis Kelce in a postseason game is genuinely hilarious to me, Gold. Because how? How do you convince yourself going into a game that that's the way you're going to approach it if you're the Texans? They just shot themselves in the foot too much. That was the biggest problem.
Well, it was the special teams. I think, honestly, the special teams was the biggest part of it. I mean, special teams set the tone early. We know the missed field goals as well. They missed that field goal and missed extra point, I should say, from the Houston Texans. You know, all the concern and confidence check on Butker and everything. He was great. It was the Texans kicker, Fairbairn, that had the miss and then an extra point, which I get the margin of victory at the end of the day, but that was a huge miss for momentum and everything like that.
Massive, yeah.
Those are kind of mistakes on the road you just cannot make. We saw it throughout the entire weekend across all these games, that when the margins are so thin, and especially in the Texans' case, when you're on the road and you're playing a team that is just better than you can't have any blunders. And then you, for whatever reason, didn't make adjustments. You know, like we'll talk about the defense throughout the show today as well and hear from you guys.
Kept letting the same people beat them.
George Karlaftis was matched up against a tight end numerous times. You know, like that's just poor coaching and lack of making adjustments. Those are the kind of mistakes you cannot make. You know, I think D'Amico Ryans is going to be a great coach in this league and is going to be a coach for a long time. But they got out-coached. They absolutely got it. You saw the difference in an experienced staff, how they handled in-game adjustments, how they handled post-game comments as well. Like all of that was pretty evident from early on. The first play of the game, a Texans player's going crazy, shoving his special teams coordinator.
I mean, that was immediate. Now, of course, the Chiefs, I'll say, the beginning part of the game was making me feel a little leery, right? You got into the beginning part of the game. They returned that kick, super deep, Gold, and then you're like, a field goal, huh? Don't love that. Then they get another field goal. Like, are you going to take advantage of, like, what's taking place here, or are you not? Are you going to let this team hang in here a little bit? It did feel like, for a minute, the Texans managed to hang. The only time in which you could even have doubted for a second there was a little trouble is when the Texans possessed the ball for what felt like 2 consecutive real hours of time when they held the ball all the way before half, then had that 10 and a half, 11-minute drive or whatever the hell it was in the second quarter or the third quarter coming right out of half. And you're like, all right, 15 plays in 10 minutes. That felt like forever. Then they missed that extra point. I'm like, you guys are cooked. You did all that work, held the ball for all that time, got the field goal before half, scored the touchdown, and you're still down? You're still trailing the Chiefs? You got no chance. You got no chance. And it always just reminds me, like with Mahomes, now passing the touchdown, he does that all the time, right? That touchdown to Travis Kelce probably ranks like 20th amongst his most incredible throws of all time. 25th, I don't know. It's on the list, but it ain't high on the list. Is it a crazy impressive throw? Will you remember because he's like essentially laying down Superman style as he hits Travis Kelce in the back of the end zone? Yeah, probably. But it also just kind of speaks to like when the lights are brightest, that's it. And the stat that we gave before the game, Mahomes' team was winning, and then they needed him to start playing better. And since that Buffalo game, he hasn't thrown a pick. He has not turned the ball over since week 11. Well, the Chiefs, no offense, are going to win every single game in which they turn the ball over 0 times. They will win 100% of the games in which they do not turn the ball over. And that's what they've done, except for the, I guess, Broncos game. Nobody cares about that.
Week 18, they had their
just ignore that one.
Backups in. I don't think anybody necessarily factors that one in at all. I still say they lost one game as far as I'm concerned this year.
Yeah.
That's just how I view it, and I think most people in Kansas City probably view it as well. But that's what we've discussed about the clean game thing. Clean game, you're not going to be able to beat them. It's why the Chiefs, who their opponent now, that they lost to earlier on in the season, the Buffalo Bills, Mahomes had 2 picks in that game. And yeah, that was the last game, as you said, that they had an interception. But that wasn't a clean game. They lost the game because of it. I keep saying it, but all weekend long, we saw what happens if you don't have a clean game. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens lost simply because, in my opinion, of the turnovers. Otherwise, they win that game. But that is a massive thing you have to be able to prevent or force in the Bills' case. And that was why Baltimore did not handle their business yesterday.
All the teams who lost gave the ball away.
Yeah,
Some of the Texans, who just aren't a very good team.
Well, that was the thing that we talked about on Saturday morning on extended pregame. You know, Gold, in particular, when you joined, we talked about how Houston literally needed to be perfect, or even if everybody played an even keel game, if there were 0 turnovers on both sides, the Chiefs were still going to win the game. Houston at halftime, it felt like Houston was playing better than the Chiefs, but the Chiefs were up by 7 at halftime. They were in a great position where you just felt Houston played about as good as they could, and they were still losing at halftime. It didn't seem like they could do anything else better than what they did in that first half, and they obviously couldn't get the job done, and they were on the brink. It seemed like just from the get-go, like going for it on 4th and 10, it almost felt like they kind of had to do it in a way. I know that they should have called a timeout before going for it, but that was a moment where
that was an insanely bad decision, in my opinion.
If they were going to do it, though, they were going to do it. Or they had to do it there, Cody, because I think if they would have punted, I think the Chiefs go down and score, and the game's completely blown open. Then, if they wanted to win, they had to try to do something there that was different than what they had been doing all game.
Everyone remaining, this doesn't apply to, and that I think the Commanders included, based on the way that they've played. But a lot of times, the reason why the Chiefs have ended up in this AFC title game so often is kind of what you're describing, Drew, in the sense that they get in these games with the Chiefs, and you can feel that they're like, there's a bag over their head and they're gasping for air, right? And they're trying to do anything to survive for a few minutes. And so for a while they do, right? They kick and scream and they claw and they the game's not over. They're still technically alive in the game, but everybody knows it's before they take their last breath. And so when you're a team of the Texans caliber, you're just not going to beat the Chiefs in this scenario. There's a reason why they have made 7 straight AFC title games, and 6 of which have been hosted in their own building during that time. It is because they are consistently one of the first or second best teams in the regular season, and they get to just keep hosting regular season playoff games. They just don't make those common mistakes in the playoffs.
No, and now it's real. Now it's go time, right? We're going to have all week to discuss. But now that, here we go. This is going to be as tight of a game possible on Sunday night, and now it's go time. You know, we've all seen this spot before, an AFC title game against the Bills and everything like that versus a divisional round or wild card game. Now is where everybody recognized the intensity, the pressure is turned on, the nerves from fans. I get it, all of that. That's what this week brings.
I wasn't even nervous about the last game. I walked in comfy.
Yeah, this is where now everything's different. This week is different. I know we're talking our divisional round stuff. By the way, divisional round coverage brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer partner of your Kansas City Chiefs. But it's a whole different feeling. I'm sure you guys will probably sense it as well as the week goes on. Like just in town and when you talk to your buddies or whatever, as we get closer to kickoff, and certainly by Friday when we're doing the Red Friday show, that it's a much different feeling this coming Friday than what it was last Friday. And you're right. Not that I think they're losing or anything like that. It's just that the confidence level was at an all-time high going into the Texans game, given what we had seen them do to the Texans. By the way, they beat the Texans week 16 by 8 points. This time they won by 9. Could have been 11. They gave 2 points away for free. So, I mean, this was
they were just trying to make sure that nothing really funky happened, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, it was the right decision in how they handled it. We'll get to that. It was unbelievable for those that were betting on the game, depending on the number you got. Incredible.
Depending on the number you got, there's a few people who were probably sick.
Incredible swing. It went to the Chiefs blocked field goal, guaranteed you the cover. And then if you got the Texans at 9.5, the safety got you back, and you were able to have Texans fans cover at 9.5 and Chiefs fans maybe cover at 8.5. It was a crazy sequence at the end as well. But boy, I'll tell you, I know that people hated the Patriots. Like, we all remember. People hated the Patriots. People complained then. And I don't know if it's just a social media is more popular than ever kind of thing. But the Chiefs have driven opposing fans, and more so the last 48 hours, media insane. Like, actually crazy. CDS. We need to get some T-shirts printed and send them out to Houston, send them out to NFL Network, ESPN. CDS is in Chiefs derangement syndrome. That is at an all-time high. Symptoms include whining. First of all, that's the first symptom. You start to whine. That's
like the early one.
Yeah, that's the first symptom. Throat. You're like, what's going on? Like, that's when you know it's really starting. And then eventually you get the full-fledged symptom, which is completely ignoring facts and reality of the situation. That's what CDS is, and that's what a majority of fans across the country have. We've acknowledged this in sports. We all know there are players that typically can get more favorable calls. I'll admit that. I think we've admitted that.
The stars of those sports, like hypothetically, let's say the best quarterback in the league.
We've admitted that on this show before.
Yeah, of course.
The issue is when you go down the conspiracy theory route. You want to say that Patrick Mahomes, just like Brady and LeBron and other stars, maybe at times get a little preferential treatment. Josh Allen gets it as well. Yeah, that's true. The minute you go to they're conspiring, the NFL chose one of the smallest markets in the league, Cody, Kansas City. I think Green Bay might be the smallest. Okay. But yeah, it's very close. They chose maybe the smallest market, one of the smallest markets in the league, to have it all rigged for them. Like, say it out loud and tell me you don't sound like a complete moron, a grown adult. Like, it's okay if your 9-year-old kid thinks everything's rigged and the refs stink and they cheated. You're a grown adult in some of these cities, and you think it's all rigged against the Chiefs? You're a moron. The numbers are out there that show it's also inaccurate, and yet now more than ever, I can present facts, and if you want to believe something, you can just say you're wrong and create this weird conspiracy theory, and that's what's happened, and I've had enough of it. I'm done with it. We've always said embrace the hate. You were trolling
yesterday, Gold.
I was absolutely trolling. I'm done with it.
I think NFL fans must just be down bad. Because when we initially started tweeting about this stuff, so like, to be clear, the 3 calls that everyone is talking about, the first one is a penalty. Is it a borderline call in which sometimes doesn't get called? Yes. Is it a penalty if you put your helmet into the helmet of the opposing quarterback? It is. All right, so let's call it borderline. They got the call technically correct by the letter of the law, but sometimes you don't like that goes against you. I get it. The second one was a bad call. Okay?
Yeah.
He wasn't penalized. They missed it. They heard 2 helmets clack together. They thought it included the quarterback. They missed that one. Do calls in the NFL get missed occasionally? They do. I don't know, for instance, maybe an offensive pass interference call that might have taken place in the Bills game that was not called offensive pass interference. There was. The third one, And what seems to be the one stuck in everyone's ass so bad was Patrick Mahomes going down on the sideline. And I want to be very clear on this because I think that some fans seem to be confused. They didn't call it a penalty.
Right.
It was never called a penalty. They didn't even reach for the flag. He just went down to the sideline and they continued play as if nothing had happened. So, like, for some reason, the fact that Patrick Mahomes, for a very rare occurrence, flopped, if they want to put it that way, they didn't call it, so why do you care? Like, this is insane to me.
Because
that's the one they seem the most bothered by.
You're 100% right. But
don't
it's because
understand.
we've reached a point now where the narrative and the conspiracy is that everything is set up for the Chiefs and the league wants them to win. And the moment there is an actual bad call, fans are like, see, here you go. And they ignore that it happens in any other game. That's what drives me crazy and why, yes, Drew, I was trolling on social media yesterday.
Yeah, you were.
Because
I think deservingly so. Most of us were doing it.
Anytime there was a questionable call in any other game, I didn't see anybody claiming it was rigged for the Eagles yesterday or rigged for the Bills yesterday. And you're like, well, because it's not. You know what? It's not for anybody, though. And missed calls, the point we've always made is the refs stink.
It's just a hard job. Right? They're not great at it.
And goes back to they should be full-time officials. I don't know why they're not. The NFL's cheap. If they want to solve this problem, they've chosen not to. It is just ridiculous. It's out there, all this stuff now. And it's one thing was just like fans, fringe people, like fringe fans. Okay, whatever. There's crazy people everywhere.
Sure. On any opposite end of the spectrum.
When people I consider to be very smart, like NFL media
there
people.
There were a lot of analysts who were
when
talking.
they're now buying into the conspiracy, it is insane. Like, I get it. Everybody hates winners, and the Chiefs are winners, and the Chiefs have been the best team in all of sports for 5 years now, if not more. I get that concept. That's nothing new. This real hate and conspiracy crap that the league is out to get everybody else but the Chiefs is just dumb.
So, and then you had this whole other problem, which is it was all fueled. So, like, what happened was, and the reason why this became, like, I thought completely out of control was the broadcast was crying. Oh, I can't believe it. I can't. So the broadcast was complaining. And then in what I think is the single biggest loser move that starts from the top, mind you, every single member of the Texans admitted something they should never admit, which is they came into the game ready to blame the refs. They had already decided they had lost the game because of the refs. D'Amico Ryans, wherever I had him, if you made me rank on all 32 coaches on a spectrum of where I ranked them 1 through 32, shot down 10 spots on my list because of this attitude, because it spreads to your team like a disease. Blaming the refs before the game and then just deciding after the game, that's also the case. It is the biggest loser way out, and I can't believe they all decided to just like chime in at the same time on it.
This was D'Amico Ryans.
We knew going into this game, man, it was us versus everybody. Right? When I say everybody, it's everybody, all of whatever. Everybody, the naysayers, the doubt, right? Everybody.
And that part we've heard go, that's actually more realistic to the Patriots stuff because everybody would say, oh, you're going to get terrible calls in Foxborough. We hear that all the time. That I don't have as much issue with, but when you hear D'Amico Ryans say it and then it's down to Will Anderson and Joe Mixon and all that, before they hopped on the plane out of Houston to head to Kansas City, they were already thinking, oh, we're going to get screwed by the refs. And if your response is, well, yeah, they should, then again, you're not taking anything realistically in this league. You just assume everything is rigged. You're the same person that also thinks that like the sports books are conspiring with the league to decide who wins so they can cover and all this, like the crazy stuff. That's where you're at. Joe Mixon, he may not be in Cincinnati anymore. You can take the loser out of Cincinnati. Doesn't matter.
Everybody know how it is playing up here. You can never leave it into the refs' hands, but I mean the whole world see, man, like what it is, bro. But it is what it is, you know. Like I said, when it come down to it, you can't never leave it into the refs' hands, man, and things like that. But it's all good though.
Shout out to Joe Mixon.
Did the refs force them to get sacked 8 times? No. Just real quick. Did the ref like, did he trip the left guard or something did I miss it? Did he schoolboy the left guard for Houston, forcing him to give up his 8th sack Eight sacks. They went for it on a 4th and 10 at a completely unnecessary moment. They had 2 kicks blocked or a kick blocked and 2 misses. Like
The opening kickoff was almost taken to the house.
Yeah, I mean, like part of this is like leave it in the ref's hands. If you make that comment and it's the NFC title game or whatever playoff game from like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and on the final play of the game they miss a call or something, and like the point is 3 points, fine. You lost. Your team scored 12. The Chiefs technically gifted you 2 to get you to 14. The Texans this year against top 5 scoring defenses in the league averaged 13 points. So they did what they normally do in those circumstances. Going into a game, like you're just never going to win a game. It's a loser's mentality. You cannot go into a game ready to blame the refs. It's nuts. It is one thing to be like, and I know people are going to point out the one time I will say in the 6-year career where Mahomes lost it at the end of that Bills game, and he admitted to as much, lost at the end of that Bills game because of the ref stuff. I was shocked. I'm guessing it's just the tiresome. They can't take it anymore. It's just, and I probably wasn't on social media as much, or social media wasn't as present in our lives when the Patriots were going through this run, because maybe it was just like, I remember we all hated them. I don't remember it quite like this.
We complained that Brady would get preferential treatment. As I said, I don't have an issue if your complaint is that, hey, there are times where maybe Mahomes gets a favorable call, but then acknowledge that when it also happens for Josh Allen. Acknowledge that that's one thing. Going to the full-blown, hey, the league is conspiring to make sure the Chiefs get every call, that's where I have to call you a loony. That's where it's ridiculous. And so, we won't spend the entire show on this, but you could probably tell it just pisses me off at this point. I know we say like embrace the hate, and people. By the way, this narrative is set in stone too. It's done now. This is
every
something
interview
that
you do, every person you talk to.
The narrative is set in stone outside of Kansas City. So whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, as long as the Chiefs are still relevant, and with Mahomes they're going to be. There's no convincing or changing anybody. That's why we're going to talk about it today off and on, and then we're going to be done with it. And if it comes up again after the NFC title game, I'm not going to talk about it in the beginning of the show. But I've never seen at this level. It's crazy to one team in the entire world. I would say in the entire sports world right now is nobody hates one team more than the Kansas City Chiefs.
It turned so fast yesterday. I mean, I guess what it is like, obviously we all in social media kind of live in a bubble, right? Like we all live in for the most part, the people who follow me, follow you, Gold, follow Drew, like the Chiefs, like the Royals, like the teams you like. So you're in this little happy zone. Shocked at the number of people with the viscera that came from.
Yeah.
It's like you can't, I guess what strikes me is do you think the league would rig all of this for one guy in Kansas City? Does he not deserve any part of this magical run? He's been to 7 consecutive AFC title games. Do you know the amount of rigging it would take?
Yeah, not New York,
to make
Cody.
that happen.
No, they wouldn't rig it for the largest media market, LA or New York or Dallas
Detroit,
or Miami.
Super Bowl would rank as?
Yeah, no,
my God.
No, they've been rigging it for years for the Chiefs. That's what we're supposed to believe.
At this rate, if they rigged it for the Giants or whatever, it'd be too obvious.
It's just crazy.
They missed a face mask, the text line's pointing out, they missed a face mask call, a really bad face mask call in a game. They didn't call an OPI call. The refs are just, and this is not.
They've been really bad
it's a
this
hard
year.
Job.
I know, but they're
bad at it.
They have been real. It seems like this year, and it might be because of the social media thing, Cody, but just across the league in general, it seems like this has been a particularly criticized year where analysts are more open about it, just in general, the entire thing.
But a lot of it is though that the Chiefs are in these big time moments every year, and they're in primetime games every year, and when other teams get a break, they don't always capitalize. And the Chiefs, because of who they are, their coach, their quarterback, when you make a mistake or a ref makes a mistake, they pounce and they make you pay. That's what it is.
15 yards didn't determine the whole game. You let it determine the whole
game. They're in
more
more of these spots. They're in more of these spots than any other team. Nobody cares that Trevor Lawrence and a 3-win Jaguars team, whatever the heck it was. Nobody cares if they got a preference.
Put some respect on the
four. Nobody's paying attention to Jaguars, Tennessee Titans, Week 16, and whoever the F crew on CBS is calling that game. They're not. There's a reason why Jim Nantz is not calling Titans Jags. Okay? It's a game nobody's paying attention to. So it could be the worst call of the entire season, and nobody cares. Put Mahomes and the Chiefs in it. It's probably a big game. Everybody's going to talk about it.
I think that some of it is because the league is always the people are trying to tell you, we see it all the time. It's look back, and it's that's just because you've seen the Chiefs more. It's just because you're used to seeing them, it feels like they get a disproportionately high number of calls. These calls are missed.
Well, that because they take advantage of it more than anybody else.
Exactly.
It looks like they almost benefit from it because they kind of do, but it's not their fault.
All right, up next, we'll get away from the officiating crap. We had to do it in the first segment because it pissed me off and it felt good. Felt good to talk about.
Cathartic.
If anybody want to help with some CDS, some Chiefs Derangement Syndrome T-shirts, hit us up, and we just want to ship a couple boxes. We don't want them here. I want to ship them out.
You might have to give one to me if
Drew
this
might
weekend
need one.
comes
I
up.
don't know.
If something happens this weekend,
I
I
just
don't know,
want to
man.
ship them to Buffalo ahead of time because I'm sure that'll happen after the Chiefs beat them on Sunday. But send them to Buffalo, send them to Houston, send them to New England, and send them to ESPN, FS1, and a few other places. We'll get those made, please. Up next, let's take a deeper look, though, at the Chiefs and Bills. Here we go yet again, and what we make of Josh Allen's performance next.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
College football is coming to an end. That's tonight, by the way, with the 12-team playoff going on. You won't want to miss a moment of the action. And right now, all customers on FanDuel can score a 30% live profit boost for Notre Dame versus Ohio State championship game. Here's how it works. Place a bet on the game, apply your profit boost, and enjoy boosted winnings when your bet hits. And the best part, you get paid instantly when you win. Use your boost on bets like spreads, over-unders, method of first touchdown, and so much more. Don't wait. Visit FanDuel.com/Alex to download America's #1 sportsbook and make your playoff payoff even bigger. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Men, it's the new year, and for many of us, it's a time of deciding to make positive changes in our lives. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction and are tired of the frustration and embarrassment ED causes, you should call Heartland Men's Health today, because there probably isn't a better resolution you can make than to be done with ED. You see, ED doesn't just affect you, it can also affect your partner, even if they don't talk about it. But here's some great news. If you're like most guys, the treatments at Heartland Men's Health will give you back your sex life, because our protocols have success rates that work in well over 90% of cases. Seriously, you might even find you're performing like you haven't in years. So, make an appointment and get ED out of your life. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. That's heartlandmenshealth.com. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
What's better than one win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get one line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you do. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
At Uline, the prevailing opinion is, if you don't live it, you don't believe it. The people at Uline believe in hard work, and they live it by being there 24/7 to answer your call, having 41,000 items in stock, and offering same-day shipping from 12 locations across North America. Business owners, sellers, buyers, shippers, and packers believe it. Uline is the hard-working, dependable source for your shipping and industrial supplies. Visit uline.com.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
The pro football playoff season is here, and there's one place to be. The BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Your home for wagertainment, giving you the sharpest insights and bringing on expert guest analysis.
From point spreads to props, live betting to futures, BetQL has you covered every step of the way with wall-to-wall coverage on the road to the championship in New Orleans.
Listen live on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM on the free Odyssey app and twitch.tv/BetQL or YouTube at Odyssey Sports.
Chiefs coverage is brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction. ShamrockRoofer.com.
Hey folks, it's Karen from Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Thank you for making Shamrock Roofing one of the top 30 roofing companies in the nation. We're family owned and ready to help you with your roof today. Inspect, repair, replace. One call does it all at Shamrock Roofing. Visit ShamrockRoofer.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Kareem Hunt in the game. Kansas City third down. Less than a yard for a touchdown, leading 6-3. 4:42 to go in the first half. Hunt trying to plow right side. Touchdown! Kansas City. Kareem Hunt, his 6th career playoff touchdown. Looking for his first win in the divisional round. And the Chiefs do taste the sweet nectar of the end zone.
How great does Kareem Hunt have to feel after everything that happened, his own doing, but everything that happened, to come back, be a win away from going to a Super Bowl, something that he obviously missed out on
because
because
on the couch earlier this year.
Yeah, because of decisions, and now he's got a chance to still get one. That's pretty darn cool, and he was the more effective back. I know we're going to talk about that today and throughout the week. He was the more effective back on Saturday night at Arrowhead over Pacheco. I don't know if it's just he's not 100% or what, but clearly Kareem Hunt's been more effective, goal line in particular.
It's crazy with no injury that Kareem Hunt wouldn't even have been on this team.
Nope. Somebody else would have signed him, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. It's not, I mean, people weren't like banging down the door to try to get Kareem Hunt on their roster. He was still a free agent in the middle of not in the middle, but like at the beginning of the regular season. So you maybe, but at least, we don't know that for a fact. That's for sure.
913-586-7965. That's the Jay Southland Tow Service text line here on a Victory Monday. AFC title game week is here. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Reminder, coming up at noon today, Andy Reid live here on your home for the Chiefs. We'll hear from him find out if there was any carryover from the game on Saturday, and obviously they get set for another AFC title game. It sounded like, at least post-game, they made it out of that game pretty healthy. Some guys were a little banged up. There was a scary hit involving Justin Reed for a while. I didn't know that was bad looking. And then
Chris Jones was getting his calf worked out in the middle of the game.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm not expecting a massive update there from Andy, but we'll hear from him as he gets set for another AFC title game.
The Bills again.
Yeah, I know, man.
Look where it is.
Here we go. It's all back to the Buffalo Bills.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. It's just how it traditionally goes for the obvious reasons. And we can talk about Lamar in a minute. He had some not great moments. He's never had a solid all the way through playoff run. And if he did, they'd probably do it. Look, were the Bills scary yesterday? Did they terrify you with Josh Allen's 20 rushing yards and 127 passing yards? No. But what the Bills know how to do, with the exception of against the Chiefs, is win in the playoffs. They are very, very, very good at grinding out playoff wins. Now, the Bills face down the barrel of a very serious gun here, which is if they lose to Mahomes again, it will be the fourth time in their last 5 playoff trips that Buffalo has lost to Patrick Mahomes with Josh Allen at quarterback.
Well, as someone pointed out,
we all wanted the Ravens instead. We all thought that they could make more mistakes. This is not my preferred matchup, but I thought either opponent was going to be tough. Hell, the Bills are the only team, Gold, that the Chiefs have lost to in the last, the only team they have lost to in the last, 400 days since December, 380. Since December 17th of last year.
When their starters were playing.
So the Denver game doesn't count. They have lost a single game since December 16th or 17th of 2023. That's the last time they lost a game, and they've only lost one game, and it was to Buffalo. So, that's a team I don't want to face.
At first glance, we'll dive much, much deeper throughout the week, and we'll have guests on. Our friend, I'm sure, Mike Shope, he was already messaging me during the break. They're ready. They're excited.
Oh, boy.
So we'll be talking to them as we have throughout the last couple of years. But why you are right that the Ravens were the preferred opponent, and I think we saw why, which is the ability for them, in my opinion, to make more mistakes, whether it's Lamar or Mark Andrews, my goodness, to make mistakes. I think the Bills are less likely to make a mistake. The Ravens, in the playoffs in particular, are more likely to, and we saw that play out yesterday. We already talked about Derrick Henry, why that would have maybe for the Chiefs not been as problematic. Well, now it's the Buffalo Bills, and the one thing that they did in that game, up until maybe 2 drives in the second half, they were the more physical team against Baltimore, right? The Ravens basically beat up the Bills in week 4, and they were winning the line of scrimmage. That was not the case this past game last night. And that'll be a huge key, the physicality part of it. And this year's team in Kansas City, the offensive line has been a huge topic. So that's going to be really interesting. And then we know in the last matchup, the Chiefs had 2 turnovers. Patrick Mahomes had 2 interceptions in that game, and that set them back. And they still had a chance to win the game late.
The Bills had 0, I think, in that game.
They played a clean game. But as someone on the text line said, you said, hey, this would be 4 straight. That's true. The Buffalo Bills, that franchise has never lost 4 big games before. Never.
No. God, they're just a cursed franchise at times. And look, this goes back to, I don't know how you don't go into this game and you're Josh Allen. You can pretend even in the post game, I felt like he didn't want to say the word Chiefs like it was Beetlejuice. He was afraid to actually say Patrick Mahomes
he's smart.
or Chiefs
He's
because
smart.
He knows that it is the boogeyman for them. You might remember during their golf thing when Mahomes was giving Josh Allen a hard time. I mean, they go way, way, way back. And so, if you start thinking about what is on the line once again for Josh Allen, and this normal thing, you get to erase it for years for a little while if you can find a way to get past him again. But here's the problem. You had him in Buffalo with a better roster, I thought, last year. Now you got to go to Arrowhead with a worse roster. And I still think the Chiefs are a better team in a number of areas. Not every area. The Bills are too good of a team for that. They know, and these teams play like a division game, in my opinion, the same as we've talked about before, because this is now the 8th time they face each other in the last
they both
6
won.
It's a crazy number of times.
And they both won their division again this year, so they'll play each other next year in the regular season.
They'll probably play each other again in the postseason next year. There's no reason to think that won't be the case. But when I watched them, the thing that impressed me the most was they won in what I deem as a very Chiefs way. They're just hey, look, if you're going to beat yourself, it's cool. We'll just kind of hang out here, let you screw a bunch of stuff up. We'll lean on the run a little bit. We're not going to do anything flashy, but we'll just go out and win. And they got up and they did what Andy Reid did, which is they sat on a lead. And I know that it looked a lot like the Ravens game that the Chiefs won in week 1, where, sure, at the end of the game, if Isaiah Likely's toe is in bounds, the Ravens have a chance to tie or win the game in week 1. And if Mark Andrews holds on to a football, they tie the game. Now there's still 90 seconds left for Josh Allen, so they're technically in the game. But the team in control, just like in week 1 for the Chiefs against the Ravens and in this game, was the Bills the whole time. They had the reins. That's what I want to find out on Sunday is which team can just like have the reins of the game the entire game. Because it feels like between these two teams, that's the team who wins.
Yeah, we get the whole revenge angle, as I mentioned, on both the NFC and AFC side for the title games. Like, there's part of me that, not that it's the, it's hard to beat a team twice or anything like that, but, going into this one, you talk about motivation, while I think Josh Allen and the Bills are smart enough not to say anything publicly, like teams like Baltimore have said or Cincinnati have said in the past come playoff time and going in. I think Buffalo's very smart, and that's why Josh Allen handled the post-game press conference the way he did, or at least on the field interview the way he did. But the Chiefs have the revenge angle. Like, I like that. Like, Mahomes knows he did not play well the last time against Buffalo in Week 11, threw 2 interceptions, hasn't thrown a pick since, all of that. Like, there is part of me that definitely enjoys that aspect. Right now, the Chiefs are favorites in this game. We'll see if it goes in the other direction. So they can't play the underdog role the way I was hoping they were going to play if they're going to go up against Baltimore.
This just feels like a heavyweight fight, not like an underdog. Like in mine, this is like minus 110 versus minus 110.
It's very close.
It's not undefeated, but like one person's the champ, so they get the advantage. But nobody views this game as like some giant lopsided mismatch. I give the Bills a lot of credit this whole season. You and I talked about this. I thought this was like a half rebuild year for them. I thought that's what they tried to do with the roster. The wide receivers on their team are not still some juggernaut. Their defensive line is not still some juggernaut. They've got some parts on their roster that I think are like weaker than they have been in previous years. It hasn't stopped them.
No,
they've taken all that thing to the AFC title game. They're playing better football now than they were in the middle of the year. And yeah, I expect a 50-50 game on Sunday at the moment.
Oddly enough, though, the fact that they don't have Stephon Diggs I actually think makes them better on offense. They're
not force-feeding him.
They're not force-feeding. They're willing to spread the ball around. James Cook is a better football player today than he was a year ago. He just is. And he's been sensational. And then, they're willing to spread it around. Like, they don't care if it's... And Keon Coleman didn't play in the last matchup. But they're spread around to Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid, who also didn't play in the last matchup, and Khalil Shakir. I mean, they're just willing to spread the ball around. They're not worried about who's going to end up having the bigger stat line, and that actually makes them a little tougher to match up, I think, for their offense than maybe in the past playoff matchups, other than just Josh Allen. But defensively, I think the Chiefs' offense is also better positioned for this one than they were last year in the divisional round game. I think the Chiefs' offense is also better positioned than they were in Week 11, and we'll talk about that later on in the week. There's a lot of players on both sides, but especially the Chiefs' side, that did not play in the earlier matchup when the Chiefs lost. Most notably, Charles Omenihu and Jalen Watson, if we're talking defensively.
Are those important players for the Chiefs? Seemed like maybe.
So you guys both say you would have rather played the Ravens.
Yes,
and I don't think we're in the majority.
Even in the comeback.
I don't think we're the majority opinion on that. But last week we were going around the table, if you will, and my thought on that was one. The Chiefs have handled Derrick Henry historically well with Spags as their defensive coordinator. The other part was Lamar Jackson still the unknown. He's more prone to make mistakes. That was before the game. That was before last night's game. More prone to make mistakes. And I think we saw that bear out last night. And that's why. I know Buffalo, because they've seemingly played them so much more, and they beat them earlier in the year, there's a sense of like, that's not the team you want. But I actually think Kansas City is equipped to handle this matchup better than Baltimore was.
I think the other part about it too, Drew, is that and maybe I didn't think about it before the game, but certainly stood out after, is the Ravens now for the second year in a row have just decided to forget their identity. Do you realize that Lamar Jackson had 0 designed QB runs in that game? How? That was a
Todd Monken question.
That was a huge part of your offense for the entire year. And you got to the playoffs and you're like, what if we weren't that? That doesn't make any sense. The Bills have never lost any sight of their identity. They have lost games to the Chiefs. They have lost games in the playoffs to the Chiefs a bunch. But they do it going out being who they are fundamentally.
Baltimore's drives when they were having success with Derrick Henry, when it came to the 2-point conversions, both 2-point conversions in the games were passes.
And then they had that one drive where it was first and goal from the 2, and all of a sudden it was from the 8 to the 9 on third down, and you're like, because it was pass, and things went weird, and you work backwards, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I would put this on Harbaugh, not on Lamar Jackson. But Harbaugh seems to recently have a bad habit of forgetting who he is come postseason.
It sounds like you think, Drew, that you think the Chiefs should be happy with this.
I think they should be happier with it, and I don't know if it's it might just be because of the game itself that we just watched. But the Ravens basically made mistakes to them lose. Like the Bills didn't win to me, the Bills didn't win the game. It felt like the Ravens lost it more so. And I know you can look at Josh Allen's numbers. He only threw for 127 yards, ran for 20. And that's whatever. He didn't need to do any more, obviously, because they won the game. But I don't know if it's the Bills seem to have played as good of a game as they could have and beat the Chiefs 30-21. The Chiefs didn't have all their players, and Mahomes didn't play that great. Where I just think if you mentioned position group wise, you think the Bills are not necessarily comparable, Cody. But if you look at the position groups, what position group are the Bills better than the Chiefs in? Maybe running back, and that's it. Because they don't have the better quarterback, they don't have the better tight end, they don't have the better offensive line. Defensive line.
They do have the better offensive line. The Bills have the better offensive line. They've had one of the best offensive lines.
Their offensive line is really, really good.
I'll give them the edge there, but all the other ones I agree with.
And running back, I think that's it.
And then defensively, I like the Chiefs' corners better. I like the Chiefs' pass rush better.
Linebackers.
Linebacker.
More even, I think, in linebacker room.
I'll tell you this. I probably get the Bills the edge there too. But again, of the 6 major areas, I would say the Chiefs have the advantage in 4.
I don't know if it has. I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with the fact that they've beaten the Bills basically every time in the playoffs. I just think that for the Bills needed the Ravens to turn the ball over 3 times. They turned the ball over 3 times and were still in the game and could have tied it without a drop. And a drop you can almost count as a turnover in that regard because it lost them the game essentially, instead of getting the 2-point conversion.
That game was neck and neck.
The Chiefs are not making those mistakes. I'm not saying it's going to be lopsided, but I think that the Chiefs should feel good going into things based on the way that they're playing now, the way that Baltimore was able to stop Josh Allen. Maybe it gives Spags a little bit more insight on something even more that they could try to do to stop Josh Allen. I just feel like the Chiefs should feel good about the position that they're in my opinion.
Well, they should feel good about it. I mean, they're in their 7th straight AFC title game. They probably are also saying they didn't think they played that great and still beat the Texans comfortably. Yeah. The offense, I think, for all the talk about rust versus rest, I think in the first half, it was fair to say there was maybe some of that. Defensively, it'll be game 2 back for Jalen Watson, so he'll be even more comfortable. There's a lot of reasons, of course, the Chiefs should feel
Hollywood
like
Brown,
they're good. My
everything.
thing is just that, I feel I know Josh Allen, in my opinion, is going to play great because he has, even in these losses to the Chiefs in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson, I might get a dud from him. And for a half-ish yesterday, that's what we got in Lamar. And then he had the great drive at the end of the game, and Mark Andrews drops a 2-point conversion. Unbelievable. And he's been an unbelievable player for them. That's just brutal. Dude.
Then he had the fumble where he tried to do too much.
Yeah, it was a disastrous game for a guy that's been a legend there in Baltimore.
We'll talk about Lamar Jackson coming up in a minute because that's one of the biggest sports stories obviously out there. The most interesting upset of the weekend was the Commanders taking down the Lions. The Lions have obviously been everyone's darling the entire year, and for good reason. They were one of the best teams in the league this year. Injuries maybe caught up with them a little.
Definitely.
But more importantly, Jaden Daniels is now already completed. I don't even care what happens on Sunday. The single greatest rookie season in NFL history. Because there have only been a couple of rookies who have played in a championship game anyway. None have ever played in the Super Bowl. And he's doing it while going on the road, beating a 15-win Detroit Lions team, playing out of his mind during the postseason run. At this point, there's no more the Commanders can't win whatever game. They can go on to win the Super Bowl. At this point, there's no reason to think Jaden Daniels isn't capable of doing it. He's on a heater.
Yeah, he's on a heater.
He's a terrifying player.
They're a confident bunch. They're extremely dangerous. If I'm a Philly fan, I'm really nervous. This is a Commanders team that beat you a couple weeks ago on a last-second play, but still beat you a couple weeks ago. Look, we last week talked about this. I did not think the Commanders were capable of doing that, and I think we're finding out Jaden Daniels is one of those really, really special players. We already said after the opening round game that unlike guys like Herbert and Darnold, for example, Stroud and Jaden Daniels are usually big game performers. and they have kind of the it factor. And I think Jaden Daniels, clearly, if you were on the fence at all, I don't know how you can be anymore. He was exceptional, and he's just so poised. Like, that's what was the craziest thing. Like, they're in the middle of a shootout there in the first half, and Jared Goff was awful, but a shootout in the first half. And Jaden Daniels is cool, calm, collective. It was really, really impressive, and he's got a better shot, man. Not just this year, because you're like, well, duh, he only has one more win away from the Super Bowl. He has a better shot at a ring than Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
serious.
the NFC side, dude, they've just been waiting for like the one true son to be on that side. We all agree that if Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow had been on the NFC side, all of them probably would have been in like a Super Bowl by now.
There's a very good chance. Yeah, my thought there by saying Jaden Daniels has a better shot at a ring than Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen is, of course, they're not dealing with Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And this year in particular, we know he has a better shot than Lamar because, he's eliminated. I'm talking, though, like next 5 years kind of thing even. Jaden Daniels' team is on a rookie contract. We know the advantage that you get with that for a few years. They'll have a ton of cap space again. It's not even, by the way, he's throwing to, with the exception of Terry McLaurin, who's a very underrated receiver in this league.
Diami Brown
and Zacchaeus, it's pretty crazy. Zach Ertz, I almost call him washed up, a very old, I won't call him washed, but a very old Zach Ertz, and Austin Eckler, who's not exactly a spring chicken either. It's pretty crazy, the group that's he's kind of carrying through to the postseason with a average defense. So they're going to be positioned to do this. I don't think it's crazy at all to say that he has a better shot over the next 4 to 5 years to get a ring than Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson.
If you're looking at how to handle a loss, though, by the way, play the difference between how D'Amico Ryans handled it and how Dan Campbell handled it. Campbell is the way you should handle a loss. Don't go out swinging on the refs like somehow they held your team back.
I felt bad for
from
Dan
doing
Campbell.
this thing. I did too. Of course, it's easy to feel bad for the Lions. They don't have a single Super Bowl in their entire franchise's history. They're an easy team to root for. And then they got themselves to a 15-win team in the best possible position to win a Super Bowl, probably in their franchise's history, and they let a rookie get them. The problem with that, and this happened with other teams around Patrick Mahomes' time, is they finally got rid of Tom Brady, only to immediately have him replaced by the next Tom Brady, or by Patrick, whatever. It's not like the next, but you get the point. Like on the NFC side, it's like you finally build yourself up to what you need to be to compete for a Super Bowl, and then Jaden Daniels just comes here, skipping past you in an instant.
Did they punt in that
1
game?
year?
I can't
Did
remember.
they punt in the game?
Because that would have been
it would have been another
like the 8th time
I
or
think
whatever
they
it's
punted,
happened.
but it didn't really matter.
I couldn't remember.
They didn't need it in order to do it. They were in control of that game the entire time, and the same thing applies. Like these whole playoff games teach you what is like the most obvious lesson, and when you say it, you kind of sound like, yeah, man, we all know. But like sometimes it slaps you in the face so big, it's like, you know what you probably shouldn't do in the postseason? That's crazy. Don't turn it over. The teams who I still think are the better teams, let me just be like, and the better team does not always win. You and I have talked about this. The more talented team between the Lions and the Commanders is the Lions. Let's not be confused about that.
Yeah.
The more talented team does not always win, because what happened was the more talented team had 2 ugly interceptions, 3 ugly interceptions. They gave the ball away a bunch. And when you give the ball away a bunch, you're not out of the game. The Lions still had a chance to come back against the Commanders, but then you are not allowed a single margin of error the remainder of the game there. Like the Rams made mistakes too, and this is how the Eagles go on to win, is they just hold down the fort and then do it. I will say is like the more I looked up the stat for the number of teams who represent the NFC, it always seems like a bigger number to me because now every team has been in the NFC Championship game more recently than the Cowboys, which is an incredible stat. But the Eagles and the 49ers, man, they're in it every other year. They just trade places who's in it.
Yeah, well-run organizations, right? We're talking about the general manager level. Howie Roseman, of course, is considered one of the best. John Lynch has done a very nice job for the 49ers, so it makes a lot of sense. And right now, guess who the GM of the Commanders is? Somebody that came over from the San Francisco 49ers. I think it's Adam Peters. I don't think that's a coincidence either, already what they're starting to do there. Commanders fans, you had the worst owner in sports, period, for 30 years. You switch to a new owner 2 years later, you're an NFC title game. Unbelievable.
Look,
props to them, honestly. Being the fact they're on the NFC side, easy to root for until they maybe play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but otherwise, rooting for the Commanders again. How can you not?
I guess we're doing that topic again later in the week is who would you rather face? And the answer's got to be the rookie, right?
Yes.
Like, I understand that he would then be a rookie in the Super Bowl.
They're
but
the
like, we're all
talent-wise,
taking the Commanders in this hypothetical, right?
Yeah, the defense is not good. If you had to go, hey, okay, Chiefs beat the Bills, and by the time the Chiefs will play the Bills, by the way, they'll know who their potential opponent would be. That's the earlier game. You would still, even though Jaden Daniels has been incredible, and if he were to go on the road again and win,
I'm not trying to figure out how to tackle Saquon Barkley. Okay, I'm not be the first team in the NFL to figure it out this year.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to figure out a way to stop Saquon. I'm fine, thanks.
There's no question you would still prefer Dan Quinn and the Commanders with Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson as their backfield versus Kenneth Gainwell and Saquon Barkley plus Jalen Hurts on the tush push is all freaking game long. Yeah, I'll go ahead and pick that path. All right, up next, guys, we get to the 11 o'clock hour. Let's talk a little bit more, though, about the defensive performance this team was able to put together, including 8 sacks. That's next.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Missouri sports fans, I've got good news. Underdog is available to play in your state. It is the best place to cash in all your takes during the playoffs. Which players are going off? Which ones are ice cold? Tonight, for instance, championship game. Maybe you like Love to go over 44.5 rushing yards, or Will Howard to go over 246.5 in the passing yards department. You compare those together and start winning over at Underdog. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. Choose those higher or lowers and create those entries all playoffs long. Underdog is the only champs platform that puts the power of cash out in your hands. You can either keep it riding with your entry or just tap win now and cash out whenever you want. And with Underdog's double flex option, you can take 2 L's and still turn them into a W. Underdog is the place to play. Sign up and deposit now using promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. So if you're in Missouri, you'll get an additional $50 in bonus cash when you play your first $5 entry. That's promo code TAPP. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. $10 deposit minimum. See UnderdogFantasy.com for terms and conditions. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
For over 87 years, GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, has offered health and dental benefits designed to meet the unique needs of federal employees and retirees, military retirees, and their families. With over 2 million members and growing, GEHA continues to serve those members and families who serve us all every day. At GEHA, your health is not our business, it's our purpose. GEHA, proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. Learn more at GEHA.com.
Now that the holidays are over, the cold weather's here, and the kids are back to their routines, we're loving Hy-Vee's Aisles Online. They make it so easy to get our groceries. All you have to do is download the app or go to Hy-Vee.com. Choose your store, select your items, and Hy-Vee does all the shopping. All you got to do is pick up your order or have it delivered to your home. And listen to this. Right now, you're going to get $10 off any $125 Aisles Online purchase. Save time, save money. What could be better? Only at Hy-Vee.
It's cold outside, and the cupboard is bare. No worries. Let Hy-Vee do the shopping with Aisles Online. It's easy. Go to Hy-Vee.com, choose your store, select your items, and schedule a convenient pickup or delivery time. Right now, get $10 off any $125 Aisles Online purchase. What could be better? We do the shopping and deliver your groceries. You stay warm and save money. Download the Aisles Online app or go to Hy-Vee.com today.
We're talking with Dr. David Bach, board-certified urologist at Kansas City Urology Care. What's the most important thing men should know about prostate cancer?
I would strongly recommend PSA testing. It's a simple blood test. It's inexpensive, and basically every male over 50 should be having this PSA once a year. Prostate cancer is the second leading cancer killer of men.
And why should they go to KCUC?
We not only treat more prostate cancer than anyone else in this part of the country, we also start with cutting-edge diagnostics to offer the most precise diagnoses of prostate cancer using ultrasounds and MRI. We can offer surgical, medical, and radiation types of treatments. And even for men who require additional therapies, we're able to offer all that at a single site.
Get your PSA level tested by the experts. Kansas City Urology Care at KCUC.
you see the best in KC. To make an appointment, visit appointments.kcuc.com.
It's just not normal, the pain calls from chronic joint pain day after day. But some of you have dealt with that pain for so long, it's become your new normal. Short-term fixes are not working. Make the decision now to say no, not going to live with it. Get moving again in 2025 with help from QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, joint preservation. Yes, you can revitalize your joints with advanced orthobiologic treatments at QC Kinetics. No steroids, no drugs, no surgery. This is the future of medicine using an array of natural solutions like PRP to attack the pain from arthritis. Tens of thousands of people with pain have discovered these cellular treatments and they're living life again without that constant pain in their joints. Want to learn more about how you can refresh your joints, get lasting relief with these amazing treatments? Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-285-8939. 800-285-8939. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-285-8939.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors.
Use as directed. VapoStick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
Right now at Wendy's, get 2 of these fave items for just $7. The spicier classic chicken sandwich, Dave's single, or 10-piece nugs. It's an incredible deal, but an insanely difficult choice. Do you go double chicky sando, both spicy and classic, 1 beefy and 1 chicky? Or maybe you go all in on one and go Nug Max. 2 faves for just $7? Gotta be Wendy's.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time only. Select a request 2 for $7 deal to redeem. Not valid in a combo or with saucy nugs. Single item at regular price. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
What's up, KC? It's Trent McDuffie. Catch the play-by-play all season long with Mitch, Danon, and Kling right here on your home of the Chiefs. 96.5 The Fan.
KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City in Odyssey Sports Station.
Houston trying to snap it before the play count. Here comes a rush against Stroud on 4th down, and he's going to go down! The Chiefs not only hold, they get a sack! George Karlaftis! This week beating the running back to his left, dangerous as a receiver. Stroud going left, he's going to be wrapped up and sacked. Back at the 24 by George Karlaftis. The second big sack of this game by Karlaftis. And for the Chiefs, 5 sacks on C.J. Stroud. Big play here, 3rd and 10 Texans at the Kansas City 13. Tight triangle left of Stroud on the far side of the field. Takes the snap on the near side. Waits, calls another, and now he's going to call a audible. Ogunbowale is his halfback left. Stroud takes the 3rd and 10 snap. Stepping up, he's engulfed and sacked again. Karlaftis is just eating this team alive. And that is the 8th sack by Kansas City.
Mitch Holthus on the call right here on 96.5 The Fan. 3-sack performance from George Karlaftis. 8 total for this Chiefs defense. They just got after it, especially when it mattered most in the final, 8 minutes or so of the game.
Then they just started picking on that offensive line.
Big time. Well, and the
Texans are just going to pay Trey Smith based on that game.
Yeah, the tight end was matched up against Karlaftis throughout the game, which was just a clear mistake. Also, even though the numbers weren't there, Chris eventually got home, but he was just so dominant, and what allowed Karlaftis and others to come throughout the game. Did you know now that George Karlaftis, because he has 3 sacks in that game, he's got 7 in his postseason career. He's 2 away from being top 20 in NFL history in the postseason.
When you play in a lot of postseason games, that's how Frank Clark got it, and he performed.
Frank Clark ended up tied for third, 13.5, just behind Bruce Smith and Willie McGinnis. But yeah, it's just, Karloff is just so young still. That's what's amazing about it. He's 2 away from being tied with Mike Vrabel, a half sack away from being tied with Michael Strahan and Neil Smith in postseason history.
If he'd like to continue that, I would suggest re-signing with Kansas City and not venturing out into the free agency market after the final year of your deal, and instead doing it, because then it's like, yeah, to be in the top 10 Gold, you only have to get to
11.
Yeah, that's it. Like you said, 11 sacks. So he's only got to get 4 more, and then he's already top 5. 4.5 more, and he's top 5 in NFL history. He just gets to kick it with Reggie White just for like appearing. And if you play in a dozen postseason games, that is not a crazy number. And so when you start looking through this stuff, it actually is just kind of wild. That defensive performance really, really stood out because they needed one of those come to life games where like everybody did it. Look, I could point out that Trent McDuffie did an excellent job on Nico Collins because the only time Nico Collins caught a pass is when Trent McDuffie was briefly on the sideline and they were able to complete it to Nico Collins. Other than that, he didn't exist. But when your pass rush is doing that, you're a problem. Chris Jones, the 1 sack he won early in the game, he lined up against the rookie right tackle on the outside and beat him so fast that C.J. Stroud had no chance. This was probably top 3 defensive performance from the Chiefs all season. It's a huge reason why this game wasn't close, even though offensively I thought that there was some like rust and hiccups. It looked like the rest did them like wonders.
No
just
question.
getting to be healthy.
They're a fresh bunch. I mean, Chris Jones had a calf injury, after that Texans game the last time. That's why he didn't play on Christmas Day against Pittsburgh. And I know he had flared up maybe at one point in this game, but he was fresh, good to go. We've acknowledged how many games these guys have played since the bye week and everything. And then Jalen Watson coming back. It was after the first quarter you saw the impact, because in the first quarter, in the secondary, Jalen Watson was really not on the field except when Trent McDuffie went out for, at the time, looked like could have been a much more serious thing with shoulder. He went to the blue 10 and then he was fine and played the rest of the game. But that was the only time Jalen Watson went in. And then you fast forward to as the game went on, Watson started getting more snaps than Najee Johnson, because Najee Johnson got more playing time in the first quarter than Watson and Joshua Williams, and then they quickly shifted away from that. Overall, Jalen Watson ended up with like 49%, 50% of the snaps.
That's exactly what we thought it would be. Now, next game, it can be 60, 65, 70%. And by the Super Bowl, because he'll get 2 weeks off in between, he can play as much as you want to. The only even slight weak area, I would argue, in the defense of the game is that I thought Joe Mixon ran the ball slightly better than I was anticipating against the defense. But if you are the Chiefs, man, you will take that trade-off 100% of the time. And for bettors who I thought probably should have just known this going into it, I hope you all bet Dalton Schultz like we all said to, because he hit the over on a single catch, essentially, on like the second play of the game. Dalton Schultz had essentially already covered his number. But they held down Nico Collins. The rest of the wide receivers didn't show up. Dalton Schultz got a little bit. They got a little bit. And outside of that, it was there. And what I love the most about it is Spags is who he is, and I think there's at times in which the blitz has cost him. Their blitzes were back on point. That's like, they've been getting beat a number of times this year on it. And this time around, I felt like either they were better timed, better planned, sent better players. Like, it's easy to like the defensive performance because almost every blitz was a hit.
That's the thing. And this we knew going in. The Texans' offensive line is not very good. It's a completely different. It's a completely different matchup on Sunday night. The Bills' offensive line is light years better than what they just faced from an offensive line perspective. And so, what they're capable of and what they dial up, these are teams that are familiar with each other. I still think the way the Chiefs played Josh Allen in the Week 11 game will be different. This feels like a Leo Chanel game on Sunday in terms of spying Josh Allen, and I think on that fourth and 2 game at play that ultimately sealed the game for the Bills back in Week 11. That was the complaint. There was like, hey, was it just a great play call by the Bills, or did they not have a spy? Did they have a spy? I think the Chiefs will have a different plan for Josh Allen this go around, and Chanel's going to have to be a big part of it. But the offensive line, like, part of the reason why they had so much success on the blitzes is that O-line stinks. Like Shaq Mason, who just came back from an injury or whatever for the Texans, is not very good. Not a very good lineman.
No, he's quite bad. And again, their offensive line is not good, which is part of the reason I told you going into the game This is about as comfortable as I think you can feel going into a playoff game. No part about that game made me regret those thoughts going into it. I would say this next game is probably about the opposite of that. It's about the least comfortable you can go into any playoff game, knowing that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen have played nearly even at every point except the postseason result. Not the play, the postseason result.
Yeah, we just
is
saw
the only
during
area in which it hasn't been even.
We just saw during the break. I think it was Amazon Prime Video put out like a graphic, not just isolating the playoffs because we know the story there, but over the last 10 head-to-head matchups, it is not even just like almost dead even. No, not only 5-5, but they both have the same amount of points. 200. I think it was, what was it, 151 or 251 or something like that. I mean, identical. But in the playoffs, it's been a completely different story. We know that.
But it's Batman versus Robin. I mean, at this point, the story's been told in that way where we will feel that way. But I've said this before, and like last year, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. 2 years ago, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl more because of what they were able to do on offense and how they were able to go through the postseason run. Last year, I thought they won it more because of what they were able to do defensively. This year's team is a more balanced team. They can't afford to let either unit slip too much, or I think they find themselves in trouble. They need a certain they need a certain mid-level of offensive performance. They need a certain mid-level of defensive performance in order to win these football games. But the defense still is the unit, you and I both agree, where it seems like they've had an easier time hitting their ceiling, having those big games. This year, we have seen the offense just click on all cylinders for all 4 quarters like once. I have seen the defense put up this type of performance 2, 3, 4 times, where they are the dominant group. They're good in the pass rush. They are good in the blitz game. They are good in the coverage game. They hold down your number one guy. The only thing that consistently gets this defense is tight ends.
And usually they've chosen that path. They've kind of chosen that path that said, all right, look, ultimately you're not winning games because of what your tight end does against us. We're going to go ahead and make sure we handle, in this case, Nico Collins. Or this week it'll be, I'll say against Buffalo will be interesting because the tight ends of Buffalo have typically done well in general and actually had an impact more so than some of these other teams. Like Dalton Kincaid has actually been, or Dawson Knox in the red zone have actually, won some games for Buffalo against the Chiefs, I would say. Whereas some of these other teams like, Dalton Schultz, Isaiah Likely going off didn't ultimately do much for those particular games involving the Chiefs and their opponents. So we'll see. I think for the Chiefs, it's James Cook and it's Josh Allen. Those are the two most important things in this game.
Cook's been really good. He's been just turned into a really solid
16
NFL
touchdowns
back.
this year or something like that.
And I don't think he's Saquon Barkley or some of the guys who make the running back position look really important. But he has certainly added a nice layer to their offense. And part of it is because Josh Allen's such a good runner. You're like, damn it, which one was going to take the ball? And I don't want to have to guess. This is stupid. And you can't stop Josh Allen inside the 2 near the red zone or near the end zone anyway.
Yeah, the tush put,
that's just a guaranteed touchdown.
It's just like the Eagles in that regard. They're that effective inside the 2-yard line. It's almost, which was why, what was it? Yes, I know they won the game, but there was a point where they had the 3rd and short and they had Josh Allen in shotgun. I just don't get why some teams won't go under center.
We can talk about that later in the week because the Chiefs had a 4th and 1 and they did a shotgun run. And I, for a moment, was like, I can't live like this. You could just do what other teams I saw do in this postseason do. Just give it to the tight end or whatever for this.
Have Noah Gray come back under center.
Yes. Yeah. Literally, there's a million choices.
In this case.
I know. That doesn't.
Perfect.
This is, you and I apply to this, and I think that you're smart enough, and I think I want to educate sports fans. Just because something doesn't work doesn't mean it wasn't the right decision, and just because something does work doesn't mean it wasn't the wrong one, is sometimes the way it works. Meanwhile, on the other side of the AFC, we got to talk about what is going to hang over the head now of Lamar Jackson for yet another year, and maybe for even longer than that. Because I do think that this is funny in the Lamar sense where I don't think it's terribly hard to defend him and be like, specifically, Mark Andrews let him down. Mark Andrews decided to stop running upfield and instead backtracked till the ball fumbled and also dropped what was, I think, a legacy drive for Lamar Jackson at the most pivotal moment of the game. But the only reason they needed the legacy drive is because Lamar Jackson screwed up. And the truth is, at this point, is Lamar Jackson has never had a clean playoff run where for multiple games in a row, he can make it without screwing something up. In the regular season, he'd only given the ball away 6 times. And they, as a team, gave it away 3 times last night, and he was responsible for multiple of them. And so I'd love to come in here and tell you, but I said going into the game that this is going to be a game that determined which person gets buried as the person who just doesn't have it in the postseason, and Lamar has to wear that because he is now going to be like rubber stamped with that across his chest.
He might be like he's like Russell Westbrook. He puts up triple doubles. You know, he's great. He's always in the MVP conversation. He's won an MVP.
He's going to win
multiple
3
MVPs.
MVPs by the time this is done, and not even made it to but one AFC Championship game.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook has made it to one NBA Finals, and that was, of course, with the Thunder. So, and he's never been able to make it since. You know, he's almost like Chris Paul. Chris Paul, a legend in the NBA, never made it to an NBA Finals. That's Lamar Jackson.
The narratives exist for a reason, and it's just the way things go. The entire offseason is going to be, now about Lamar once again. Knocking over the hump. I would argue that we kind of already had that this year. He's been so good. He's going to have a third MVP here in a couple weeks. And now he's graded only on one scale, and that is getting to a Super Bowl. This would have been the biggest win in Lamar Jackson's career against Josh Allen, and they came up short. And you're right, he had an unbelievable drive at the end, and they should have had the 2-point conversion, but you can't make some of the mistakes you made earlier on. And that's why, going back to how we start about matchups and do we think the Bills are a better matchup versus Ravens, I still think Lamar is more likely to make a mistake in a crucial moment than Josh Allen. That's just doesn't mean Josh Allen won't have an interception on Sunday. I hope he does. But Lamar is more prone to doing that. Doesn't mean Lamar stinks or anything like crazy like that, but there are quarterbacks when you're inside the top 5 and you're talking about Hall of Fame, you're talking about, are they the 7th best quarterback or 5th, whatever, right? 3rd best quarterback, however you want to compare guys, you get to the nitty gritty, the margins, and he is being judged on one thing right now, and it's understandable. And it's the lack of postseason success and in play in those moments. And that's going to be what goes with him until he changes course. I think the graphic they put up during the game was if he gets his third MVP, he'll be the only 3-time Super Bowl MVP winner. I think it was because Brady had 5 rings by the time he won his third or something. Rodgers already had a ring by the time he won his third. There was a whole bunch of quarterbacks they listed off. He'll be the only, I believe, 3-time MVP award winner not to even go to a Super Bowl.
It's just there at some point. It's always the same thing. And what I've said about Lamar, and you and I don't disagree. Lamar is a top 5 quarterback, a top 5 regular season quarterback without argument. He is obviously one of the most talented guys in the field. He can do some truly special things. He has developed. He is into a excellent passer. All the stuff that used to be, he's just a running quarterback. None of that's true. But in the postseason, he has one game every postseason in which he crumbles. He overthrows receivers. He tries to scramble around in a wet ball situation and ends up fumbling it away. He forces himself into these, and he can still do tremendous things where he drives all the way down the field and gives himself a chance, and his teammates hurt him. Like somebody was pointing out the Isaiah Likely or the Derrick Henry drop down the sideline, but they got all that yardage back on the next play to Isaiah Likely, so that didn't really matter. But he chokes. He chokes. And I don't know if that's just like in his makeup, if that's part of the team stuff, if Harbaugh's not putting him in a good spot, because I've told you, one of the biggest problems the Ravens have is Harbaugh, for back-to-back postseasons, has forgotten who they are. How many times did they run it against the Chiefs in that AFC Championship game that they lost by 1 touchdown? In a 17-10 game, they ran it like 7 times, Gold, or something?
6, something like that.
It's crazy. Like, you can't keep letting your coach come in here and fumble the bag, too. This is going on Harbaugh a little bit, too, but he has bulletproof armor on because he has a Super Bowl title with Joe Flacco. Lamar has 1 single AFC Championship game appearance. That was last year. Yeah. And other than that, he's got a series of playoff failures.
Look, I like Lamar Jackson, but I can't help but remember all the conversations throughout the season about, hey, Lamar and Derrick Henry can't be stopped. You don't want to face them, can't be stopped. Or, they get more yards per play than anybody in the entire league, guys.
This is one of the 15 best teams in NFL history.
That's right. EPA this, all this. And
a lot of advanced stats at like the Ravens.
And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It turns out that you got to have the kind of the it factor in those moments. And Lamar's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to have 3 MVPs, and one day he might get there. But right now, it's fair to be critical. This is the reality of when you put yourself in that category, you're in a select few. People are going to be critical.
Like if
it's not like Josh Allen played great yesterday, but he didn't make mistakes.
No, the truth is, like, if you could combine Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen into one quarterback, it'd probably work. One guy could handle the regular season, and then the other guy could handle the postseason. Because that's the other problem Lamar has is. Now, Patrick Mahomes, obvious, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow have all been better postseason performers. Now, Lamar Jackson gets to the postseason at a far greater rate than Joe Burrow. But when he gets there, at least he performs well. And, like, it's hard to shake. Because, like, I don't want to turn it into this, like, Lamar can't play and just, like, some of these tropes that I think were wrong for a while. But the stats are the stats. The guy's worse in the postseason. Like, I don't fear the Ravens for that reason. He's worse. And Josh Allen didn't have some, like, humongous statistical day. He had 127 passing yards and 20 rushing yards. But do you know what he had? 0 turnovers. None. And in a postseason game, that's the difference between winning and losing.
Trash of the day.
All right, let's get to it. The reminder coming up in about 40 minutes.
Is this going to be opposing fan bases over the refs?
No, we're going to get back into that later.
We could just play clips.
I already let off some steam about the ridiculousness of those that have come down with Chiefs derangement syndrome. But let's get to the trash of the day. It centers around a flight. Okay, this was a United Airlines flight, was en route to Phoenix from Chicago. Like we've all heard of, like mechanical issue or a flight. Unfortunately, you hit some
turbulence,
some birds or whatever.
Oh, yeah, sure.
How about a coyote? Like that would not be so a United Airlines flight was headed to Phoenix.
I'm in the air. I'm not supposed to hit a coyote.
On Sunday morning, United Flight 1727 safely returned to Chicago O'Hare International Airport to examine the aircraft after its landing gear struck a coyote during takeoff. 6 crew members, 167 passengers were on board this Boeing 737 MAX 9 when the incident took place. No injuries reported. The flight, there was a different flight that was diverted to O'Hare after striking a bird back in November, but we've heard that before, and that's more dangerous.
You're in the sky. That makes sense.
That's more dangerous. You're already up in the air. But a coyote, like if I would have told you, hey, yeah, flight was delayed, guys. Sorry, on the runway we ran into a coyote. Like, what?
Like, well, you're just not destined to go anywhere. That's the reality.
It was en route to Phoenix from Chicago. Like, I guess, out of all destinations, I wouldn't have guessed Chicago would be the one that you'd have the coyote. I would have guessed, like, New Mexico or the Phoenix when we're not going to have the coyote. I would not have expected Chicago to have the runway with coyotes.
No, I can't say that I would, and that would be kind of ludicrous to assume as much, but that's just bad luck. Sometimes you ever just feel like you just take the L and you're just like, okay, it's not meant to be today, right? Like, I'm not supposed to go to whatever this flight is. I'm just going to, like, if it's just like a 4 pleasure trip and it was just like a 72-hour thing, just don't go. Like, you're not supposed to go if on runway you hit a coyote. Not supposed to be. And, like, think about the timing of it all. You are a giant moving object heading down a giant runway. A coyote has to happen to get in the area, running across at the exact same time, and then jump into the landing gear at that time. That's wildly bad luck. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it says this. Has an airplane ever been stopped for a coyote failure?
It didn't say. Coyote failure, just running. I mean,
seems unlikely.
Right, by the way, real quick, do we think it said the landing gear needed to be repaired? We all know once you get going, the plane's going pretty good.
The gear gets going up pretty quick.
Well, no, they didn't take off. I guess I'm asking, was the coyote killed on contact? Because they weren't, you know.
You have to assume so.
I gotta assume it's the worst version of flattening, like a situation.
Was the coyote hit when you were going full speed ahead, or was it like you were just kind of slowly going? I'm guessing it was when you're going.
Coyotes move pretty quick. I don't think it's not getting out of the way of something going slow.
I'm guessing it was, max speed about to take off, and then you heard a little bump on the flight, and they're like, "Oh wait, what do we hit?
We hit like a pebble." I guess in an airplane, you probably take that a lot more serious. You're like, "What was that? What was that little bump?" Do you think it feels different than like a normal?
Text line says it was ugly, like Coyote Ugly. Okay, well done. Okay,
that's a very dated reference, but we'll take it. I accept. I've never even
Have you seen that movie?
Coyote Ugly? Yeah, but like 25 years
Drew?
ago.
I bet you Drew hasn't seen it.
I've never heard of it.
He's never. Do you know how old that movie is? Dude, that movie came out in like the early 2000s.
Maybe
Drew's
late 90s.
Like
I don't know.
6.
It was a 2000 film, literally 2000.
Yeah, I was 5.
There's bars named Coyote Ugly all across the country.
Still?
Mm-hmm. In Nashville, they have some. A few other places. Yeah.
I feel like I'm supposed to make like a Looney Tunes joke. Like, did they draw like a tunnel inside of the side of a building or something first before, you're supposed to go Wile E. Coyote instead. And, he always gets back up.
Now I know who Wile E. Coyote. I know who that is.
Okay.
Glad we got that figured out. Yeah.
Coyote Ugly reference, no good for Drew. Wile E. Coyote.
Drew, you know what? You should watch Coyote Ugly. I think you would enjoy it.
You think so?
You should start a movie podcast about movies that aren't rated very well. And then you could start with Coyote Ugly.
Yeah, and see if Carrington will go on your podcast.
I was going to say,
oh, wait.
do you guys want to join?
To talk Coyote Ugly? If you start the podcast, Drew, I'll be on your first episode talking Coyote Ugly. We only talk about movies with animal names.
I like that movie back in the day.
Okay.
I haven't seen it in years.
I don't recall what I thought about it. It's been so long since I saw it.
It's been 25 years.
I'm assuming I watched it last in the year 2000.
I think it's been on TV more than it's probably been like 2010 or something. You know.
You said the movies are movies with animals in them?
Yeah.
Or we'll do Air Bud, week 2. We'll do 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah,
Then
only
we'll do Lady
animal
and the
movies.
Tramp.
That's all we watch.
Lady and the Tramp.
Coyote Ugly is not an animal movie, but
The
if it's got an
Aristocats.
animal name in it, it still counts.
We're just going to run through a bunch of Disney animated animal movies.
Yes.
And we'll be good to go. Bambi, Lion King.
I hated Bambi. I didn't like that.
I didn't care for it.
Pretty sad start.
Yeah, I wasn't
Fox
a big
and
fan.
the Hound. Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of Bambi. All right, that's the trash of the day. Up next, Chiefs Red Half Hour. He turned back the clock again. It's playoff times. You knew he was going to do it, and he sure did. We'll hear from him a little bit, too, next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Man, if you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation, drive, gaining weight, you notice the signs. Maybe a loss of muscle mass. The Low T Center can help you because all of those things could be a sign of low testosterone. Don't wait, find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test with an on-site lab that'll get your results back right there in the building. And the Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office. They have physicians who specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each individual patient, not your basic standard treatments, individualized, personalized treatment plans to optimize for each person going in. The experts at the Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients, and that's why it's important. For current patients, Low T Center also offers $150 referral credit for each new patient that you refer. And at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications. So go get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com. Book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Missouri sports fans, I've got great news for you. Underdog is available to play in your state. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all of your favorite athletes' performances. And with their Champs game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats. And they've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. With Underdog's double flex option, you can even take 2 L's and turn them into a W. Recently, I won $98 on Underdog. Sign up and deposit now with promo code BOB to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. And if you're in Missouri, you'll get an additional $50 in bonus cash when you play your first $5 entry. That's promo code BOB. Must be 18 and over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. $10 deposit minimum. See UnderdogFantasy.com for terms and conditions. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Hey, Casey, when I discovered my new passion, I dove into social media, got on some shows, and soon almost Andy Reid was bored. But this winter, there's something new you might discover that's not as great. Issues with your garage door. Don't get stuck in the cold. Get your annual maintenance check for just $100 or a free replacement quote from my friends at Renner Garage Door. They carry top brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster, trusted locally since 1956.
RENNER, RENNER.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to rexbuykc.com. That's rexbuykc.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Paid for client portrayal and endorsement. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisement. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
After my car wreck, there was a lot I didn't know.
I do know. My team knows injury law. We can help you understand all of your legal rights so that you don't get cheated.
DM Law knew what to do and got me $350,000.
Mike's got this.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, call me. I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
I'm at a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574.
Oh, I'll switch.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
That's a headache.
Nope, it's painless.
Oh, so it's easy money.
Yep, check Allstate first and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Ad paid for by Anthem Tax Services. Attention. If you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-217-1316 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-217-1316. That's 800-217-1316. Again, 800-217-1316.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you do. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
At Uline, the prevailing opinion is, if you don't live it, you don't believe it. The people at Uline believe in hard work, and they live it. By being there 24/7 to answer your call, having 41,000 items in stock, and offering same-day shipping from 12 locations across North America. Business owners, sellers, buyers, shippers, and packers believe it. Uline is the hard-working, dependable source for your shipping and industrial supplies. Visit uline.com. Chiefs coverage is brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction. ShamrockRoofer.com.
Hey folks, it's Karen from Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Thank you for making Shamrock Roofing one of the top 30 roofing companies in the nation. We're family owned and ready to help you with your roof today. Inspect, repair, replace. One call does it all at Shamrock Roofing. Visit ShamrockRoofer.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Our divisional round coverage brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer partner of your Kansas City Chiefs. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you here on your home for the Chiefs. 96.5 The Fan. Here in about 25 minutes, we're expected to hear from Andy Reid right here during Cody and Gold. It's been a little while since we've had a Monday one because the schedule's been a lot of Saturday games and all that, but we are going to hear from Coach Reid coming up as they get set to take on the Bills Sunday night, AFC title game, 7th straight title game, 6th at Arrowhead during this run, and of course, 1 win away from a Super Bowl, 2 from a three-peat. Later on today in the 1 o'clock hour, we'll also have Jay Binkley join us around 1:10 or so. It'll be good to check in with Bink, because there's also a national title game tonight. It feels like there's zero buzz. I get it. We're in Kansas City.
Kansas City, yeah.
There's a national title game tonight, apparently.
I'm sure there's a lot for Notre Dame, who hasn't won a NCAA title since 1988. And Drew was having to catch me up because I didn't realize
Back
that
when Lou Holtz was
Ryan
coaching.
Day apparently has a...
Oh, there's beef.
He has beef with an 88-year-old man.
They've both been talking smack back and forth, yeah.
Okay, but if an 80...
This goes back to a couple years ago.
My grandpa is getting ready to turn 95. If I find out the two of you have beef, I'd be like, will you leave a 95-year-old alone?
Well, Ryan Day's an ass.
You can't be the person... Like, another 95-year-old can have beef with another 95-year-old. You, a person in their 30s, can't be beefing with someone who's 88.
I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is
Ryan Day,
now.
Well, Ryan Day...
to kick his ass or somebody's 88.
Yeah, Ryan Day's an ass, so that shouldn't surprise you one bit. They are heavy favorites tonight. 8.5, depending
Plus
on
300 on the
book.
money line, I think, for Notre Dame.
Yeah, so we'll get to that later on. But let's get back to the Chiefs, of course. And we all saw this coming. We mentioned the trends on Friday's show. That come playoff time, Travis Kelce is a different football player, no matter what happens in the regular season. He's now done it 2 straight years where people question him in the regular season. Lost a step. He's old. He's washed. He sits out week 18. Last year, has a great postseason. He sits out week 18 this year. What does he do? He comes up with a 117-yard with a touchdown performance and was the most dominant player other than, I would say, George Karlaftis at times on the field from just an individual perspective. He was sensational. And even though Xavier Worthy in the locker room, he was asked about Travis's play, and he gave him a hard time. He said, Young Kels probably gets a touchdown on that. That might be true. Maybe it's a touchdown 7 years ago, 5 years ago.
I think probably, yeah.
But he was sensational, man. He had his best performance of the season. He by far, 102 yards would have been the record. It was 102. At one point, he had 102.
A little more than that.
That was already the best. He ends up with 117. He was sensational. He talked about turning back the clock in the locker room and how similar it was to a year ago.
Anytime you can get an opportunity to really, work on the body and get healthy late in the season, man, I'm going to take advantage of that all the time. You saw me do it last year in the LA game and so on. So I'm always appreciative of, the hard work that we put in so that we get those opportunities.
So you felt that much better today, having that big break?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, every time.
How was it?
All right, we'll stop it there. But at the beginning, you could hear the beginning portion. He went on from there. But
the truth is that, and I'd love to be like, I'm the only person who was said. We all know how this works. I told you before the playoffs, Alex Gold agreed. Everyone else, not everyone else. There's plenty of people who throughout the year try to, during a regular season, be like, he's washed. He's not the same Travis Kelce. He'll never be like, okay. What Travis Kelce has wisely started to do is, Travis Kelce, I believe, in any regular season could still go for 1,100 yards. I think he's more than capable of just doing that. If that's what he had just chosen his path to be this regular season. But it would be to the detriment of what his postseason body and performance would be like. So he's saving himself. And when the lights turn on, nobody can guard Travis Kelce anymore. He looked, again, 22 years old, maybe, if you want to make the joke that he did in the Pat McAfee one.
He did it in the locker room,
once again, okay, well, he's okay. You don't have to play the same line.
Because somebody said, hey, Xavier Worthy said you would, young Kelce would have scored. And then the guy's like, what was that, like 25-year-old Kelce could do that?
22?
And he was like, 22.
There you go. So, good. I can appreciate the fact that he's aiming on the joke. But the truth is that it becomes an immediate problem for the playoff teams because part of what I think you do, Gold, is you don't go back to tape from years and years and years ago. And it's when you're starting to break down a team and how you're going to defend them. Travis Kelce is not a part of how you're going to defend them. But because of the regular season he just had, he wasn't the biggest reason you were going to try to go about stopping the Chiefs. And then the postseason hits. And different Travis Kelce shows up. He was incredible yesterday. Incredible. This is the best game he's had in 2 years, maybe. I don't know. It's better than every playoff game he had last year, too.
But this is the switch we talk about, and how obvious it's been. The team does it, and he's a huge part of that, of course. But they're able to find that extra gear. It's cliche stuff, but they've done it time and time again, and that'll be the decision the Bills are going to have to make because I don't know what the Texans were doing. I mean, it wasn't like Travis Kelce was just getting separated. He was wide open.
I know,
wide open.
Yeah, he was.
Like they just ignore. I don't know.
Forget? Like they didn't even look at him on tape.
There was a couple times that it was Azeez Al-Shire just looked like he totally lost him.
It was unbelievable how open he was. Buffalo will do a better job, I'm sure. It doesn't mean Kelsey's going to only have 30 yards, but they'll do a better job. But that's where the Chiefs had one wide receiver catch a pass in this game. One wide receiver, and it was Xavier Worthy. D-Hop barely played. We can get to that later in the week, maybe. That was surprising.
It was.
A lot of that was, at one point in time, credit to the Texans' defensive front. it wasn't the best O-line performance yet again, especially on the left side. Joe Tooney struggled at times early on in the game, and so they're getting the ball out quick, but it was still an offense that was sluggish at times. The only thing working really was Travis Kelce and a wide open connection throughout the game. But Hollywood Brown didn't have a catch. It was kind of crazy that if I would have told you going into the game that, only one wide receiver is getting a catch,
I would not have felt great about it.
And
like,
yet they won
happened? Relatively handily.
Maybe you would have said Travis Kelce went off.
I'll be honest. If you had said that, I'd be like, did Travis Kelce have like 150 yards? I'd be like, yeah, okay, well then they're probably fine. When you look at it, this is why what Travis Kelce did in the regular season against your team doesn't matter. He played the Texans less than a month ago, and he finished the game with the exact number you just mentioned. He finished the game with 30 yards against the Texans. He was a non-factor in a Texans win. When he faced the Bills about 2 months ago now, or just like a couple days over, just about 2 months ago, he was a non-factor in that offensive performance. And you probably get lulled into comfort, probably not Buffalo at this point because they faced Kansas City enough, into thinking, well, we held them down the last time. Surely it will go the same again. Travis Kelce got to take, and this is really important, 30 days off of football. 30. Like, if you don't think at his age, a full month away from the sport doesn't have him feeling spry, you're delusional.
Yeah.
He's in a playoff run. He took a month off of football. He's going to be, and he gets 2 weeks off if they win this weekend. Like, he'll get to have more rest going into the postseason. Of course, I was impressed by Travis Kelce. Not surprising. Also makes me go back to the comments just real quick on the retirement stuff. When he was talking about it, and he was being a little more open in some of these interviews than we had seen before, is he had said, like, he still wants to play at a high level and he still wants to think he contributes. I think I would just tell you, don't just look at his regular season stats to determine that. Because if he goes through another postseason run like this, where he's just 100, touchdown, tell me he can't look at himself in the mirror and be like, no, I still got it. Like, the regular season be damned. I mean, he just proved the whole world he still got it.
I'll tell you this, though. We've had, you and I have had, whether it was last year or this year in the locker room, there's times where we all know now with the podcast and his brand internationally and everything like that, he does a little less interviews and talking locally, and that's fine. He was as happy and as
he's just in a good mood, huh?
Oh, in a great mood. And you're like, well, of course he was in a great mood. But you can tell there's a difference. I mean,
a little extra pep in his step.
Absolutely. I mean, there was 50 media members surrounding him trying to talk to him, obviously, at this time. But like this, he was in a, like, when he's in a good mood. Like, there were plenty of games during the regular season. They won, and he was fine and didn't necessarily want to talk or whatever. This game, was in a great mood, feeling
over.
It just felt fresh and everything. So there's a difference even in that, I would argue, this time around than 2 months ago.
I hope he's feeling as good as possible. Got another tough one against Buffalo coming up on Sunday for yet another AFC title game appearance and a chance for Patrick Mahomes to go to his 5th Super Bowl. He is 29 years old, which is ludicrous. We'll see. That game will obviously continue to break down. How they got there, obviously, not just Travis Kelce. I mean, he was definitely a big part of that. I'm not trying to pretend but this goes back to the same thing. The difference between playoff versions of yourself and the regular season version of yourself. You and I never cared that Patrick Mahomes this season did not have the counting stats to do it. But one stat that you and I had continued to emphasize more and more and more as the regular season got end, and a huge difference of why they have become borderline unbeatable here towards the end of the year is the turnovers. This is a team who is giving it away for free at the beginning of the year. And those are the games that you're remembering this Chiefs team that managed to, I don't even know how they won that game. And they gave the ball away multiple times. They haven't turned it over since the Buffalo game. Patrick Mahomes hasn't turned it over since the Buffalo game. And yesterday, he was doing normal Mahomes things. Immediately a rush over. I told you my favorite bet was Mahomes' longest rush over 12.5 yards. It's like the first run on the first drive. Took literally 0 time.
He runs more in the playoffs.
So here he goes. Here comes the legs for Mahomes. And then he makes that play when someone's wrapped around his ankles and hits Mahomes between the eyes on a touchdown catch. He just did, he just
had a laugh after that
stuff.
touchdown pass because it was just ridiculous. And it was a dart right to Travis Kelce, who then Kelce just kind of stood up and looked down. Now he wasn't over the defender. That's why he didn't get flagged for those going conspiracy stuff. He didn't stand over the defender. He was a yard or two away. That's why he didn't get flagged for it. But it was interesting to see, though, for the millionth time seemingly, despite how the game flow is going, despite how maybe you're playing or not playing, in those gotta have it moments, and it felt like at that time that was a gotta have it on the third down, and instead of settling for a field goal, he goes and makes just a sensational play. That you're right, it's not even a top 5 or top 10 play of Mahomes' career or anything like that, even though it occurred in the playoffs. For
It's
a lot
a super cool
for
play.
a lot of quarterbacks, that would be a top 5 play in a heartbeat.
Our producer Drew Nixon was immediately pointing out a touchdown that Joe Burrow threw earlier this year that looked very similar.
Yeah, it was in a regular
season game in which his team did not make the playoffs. But hey, I credited that throw. It was a great throw.
The play is
it just doesn't
similar.
mean as much.
That's all I was saying.
And his guy's knee was on the ground, but that's a whole other story.
Oh yeah, you know what? Actually, can we admit that he was down?
No,
can you admit he was down?
He was not. The photo, there is a sliver of green on there. Plus, they also reviewed it.
I don't want to talk about a 9-8 football team today. I'm good.
I'm just saying the throws were similar. They were obviously Mahomes. The play's ridiculous. Nonetheless, it doesn't take away from that. Obviously, the play for him to fit the throw too. There was Travis. He had to fit the throw right through a little a gap between
they were making
Shire
it seem like that was like
there.
I didn't think the broadcast gave that throw enough credit. Like
that was a really good
the athleticism they obviously did right. The he's being tackled around his ankles, but Drew, there were he actually squeezed that between 2 defenders.
Yeah,
Travis Kelce wasn't wide open on that play. Travis Kelce was still guarded a little bit. If he misses that ball a foot to the left or a foot to the right, a defender might still be able to get their hand on that ball, hypothetically. I just look back and I'm like, how did they win the game? And the simple thing is they didn't turn the ball over. They did, and the Texans did neither.
Not either, but
the Texans, but special teams.
That was
really
honestly, there's some of the things will pop out at you. You look third downs, the Texans were better, more yards, all that. But
all the field
8
goal
sacks,
and extra point passes, and
then right out of the gate, even on the return, I know the Chiefs settled for 3. The fact that immediately, though, Nico Armillo has the return, they gave him 3 free points. Yes, it was a win to keep him out of the end zone, but you gave him 3 free points. You cannot do that in a playoff game if you're the Texans. When you're the underdog and when you're just overmatched, and I think it's clear they were, despite the first half making it really interesting. But other than the first quarter at one point, I don't think the Texans ever had a chance to take the lead.
No.
Other than the first quarter when it was 3-0.
Which, again, that doesn't really matter. And I guess I told you that's how I kind of expected the game to go, but Mahomes is just surgical. And I get it. They always have a drive, right? There was the time when the Texans immediately gave the Chiefs the ball back, and it was a short field, and if the Chiefs had just gone and kicked a field goal, the game was over in the fourth quarter, and the Texans still had technically one more chance in order to do it. And then the following drive, Mahomes delivered the death blow. That's not a do or die situation. If it is so someone asked the question, I don't remember who it was on Twitter last night. I give him credit, which was a fair question. And Lamar ended up going down to score the touchdown. He didn't get the 2-point conversion. But in that moment, when Lamar Jackson got the ball at the 10-yard line in that game with 2.5 minutes to play, said, what chance would you give Mahomes to go down there and score? And I'm like, I don't know, 80, 90?
Yeah.
It's not 100, but it's way better than 50. That's what we're talking about. It's just they could have settled for a field goal, you're right, and opened up the door, and instead he's got a guy wrapped around his legs.
The ending of the game was pretty wild, though, for those that partake in some sports betting. So all week we discussed the line. The Chiefs were 8 or 8.5 point favorites. Then Sunday, an hour before kickoff, the line closed at 9.5, meaning the Chiefs to cover would need to win by 10 or more points. You guys know how the game ended. The Texans were deciding to kick a field goal, and if they make the field goal, the Texans would have, in that moment, covered, right? The Chiefs would not have covered. It was going to make it a 12-point game. So the fact that the Chiefs blocked the kick was just massive, right? Once again, Chanel comes with a huge block. Unbelievable.
Chanel's the most 50% player who shows up.
But he's so athletic. That's what it is. He's an athletic freak. And so he gets another block. And at that point, you're like, oh, this is hilarious. Unbelievable. After all that, the Chiefs are still going to cover. It doesn't really matter. Then we know the Chiefs decided for time reasons and to make sure that there wasn't a risk of a block punt return for a touchdown, they had Matt Araiza run backwards and run around the end zone for a few seconds and take a safety. They gifted 2 points back to the Texans. So at that point, it once again became a 9-point game. And that was a massive swing in sports books. Normally, it's like, oh, this screws over the public. But no, this is the thing. If you were going to back the Chiefs, I don't feel too sorry for you if you bet an hour before kickoff when it was 8.5 all week, and for whatever reason you waited till it was 9.5. But what happened is Texans bettors, if you waited till kickoff, it was smart because you got the better number. I bring this all up to say is Chiefs backers covered at 8.5. Texans backers at 9.5 covered, meaning for very few
people.
Very few times the books actually lost and got screwed. So, round of applause for everybody out there. Because, we talk about middling the number. The books got middled.
Yeah.
Chiefs backers at 8 or 8.5 covered. Texans backers at 9.5 covered because the Chiefs won by 9. It was a beautiful thing.
What a time
but
to be
if you're a
alive.
Chiefs fan and if you're talking about a big spread, the line was never going to go down to 7 before kickoff. I'll be honest, not all that smart if you took the Chiefs 9.5 right before kickoff. You had all week to take them at 8 or 8.5.
Yeah, it would have been kind of silly to take, that number grew and only right towards the end there. So, for the most part, as you said, everybody won. That was my point late in the game when the Texans were driving. I'm like, the only people who care about this last-minute Texans drive is bettors. Because it's like, they're either going to make this game inside the spread or they're not. They didn't. And then the Chiefs essentially won it for everybody by taking an intentional safety, which was smart, by the way. This is not like some big, deep conspiracy. The Chiefs weren't trying to win you all money. They just knew that by doing that they were going to ensure a win. But it is like, I couldn't imagine if you're like the one person of the Chiefs plus 9.5. You'd be
or minus
9.5. You'd be
it's a bad bet. At that point, it's a bad bet, though. You had all week to do it, man. You're betting the Chiefs minus 9.5 right before kickoff was, frankly, a dumb bet to make.
It's crazy.
Minus 8.5 backers, very fortunate.
What was that parlay that you said you teased down? Like, did you hit on that, Gold? I can't remember the exact one, but you teased.
Well,
you teased somebody down and
teased the Chiefs.
Put a parlay together.
Teased the Chiefs down to 2.5, and then the Rams up to 12.5. So I needed that last Rams score before the last drive. Otherwise,
you did.
Yeah.
Needed that Rams score. Boy, they really.
They had them right there. The Rams were right there. The last drive, they were right there. Remember, they were only down 6, so touchdown and an extra point, they would have won the game. They were there, but it is what it is.
Same problem. They made more mistakes than the Eagles.
Right.
The Eagles played mistake-free football. Normally, that's just kind of a difficult thing to overcome. And now we get to find out whether Spags has got some answer for Josh Allen again in a postseason. And on the other side, it's the Eagles once again. I can't believe it. It's the Eagles again, Chiefs again. You're like, okay, so I got to watch 5 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes, and 2 are against the 49ers and 2 are against the Eagles.
4 of the 5 are rematches.
You got any other NFC opponents over there? Or like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys like the fact that NBC put the yardages up when it was a snow globe and you couldn't see the yard lines at all? Did you like
the
that?
yard markers?
Yeah,
yes.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
I actually didn't.
I kind of like to know what the hell's going on.
I didn't care for it too much.
I do want to know where they're running.
Well, they had the line of scrimmage and they had the first down, but you didn't know where they were on the field. I kind of enjoyed that a little bit. We have no idea where they're at right now. The
I like
players
to know.
I kind of enjoyed watching that. I didn't like them putting up.
Here's the weird thing: it's
the 30 and 40 and all that.
Visually, it looks really badass. In general, I don't think it's good football when
players hate it. I think
that's the thing. Like, I love the snow game. It's visually really cool to look at. In general, that game was a high-flying pace game, and then all of a sudden the weather, and then it went down to a crawl. And I know some of you are like, that's old school football. I love it. I'm just saying, like, look at the other game. Look at the Commanders-Lions game. Played in a dome, and I totally am not saying play games inside instead of out. My point is that it ruined how really good the Rams-Eagles game could have been versus what we saw with Detroit and LA, where the weather conditions were perfect and we saw the high-flying offenses. I'm just saying Rams and Eagles could have been more high-flying.
I just think sports can look different, and I think weather should matter. Like, I think weather should have an element.
I want games that I'm fine with outdoor stadium. It's not like an anti-outdoor thing. I'm just saying, like, the acknowledge of, like, outdoor, would I rather have 8 inches of snow on the ground or 70 and sunny? I'll still take 70 and sunny outside from a football perspective,
I can't remember. There was one player There was one player, I don't remember who it was, but they were asked about it. They're like, everybody says football. This is football weather. He was like, no, it's not. It's really not. It's not good. Players don't like it. The coaches don't like it. People like watching it on TV, but it's miserable.
I like it.
Were you cold?
From the 816. Sorry I came to because we got to take a break here in a minute and get to Andy Reid. And I'll address this at some point from the 816. Sorry I came to the radio late. Has Cody apologized to FAU yet? Possibly a song apology.
Look, I don't think you have to apologize, but you can at least acknowledge that in his 6 snaps, he was effective on every snap.
I have acknowledged that at different points this season. I think FAU had several nice plays. You know where he's done a really nice job? He has become very efficient in setting the edge in the run game.
Yes.
And as a result of that, he's had some very positive plays, some negative plays actually for the opposing offenses in doing that. He has done a really nice job. But if I had told you that the Chiefs' first-round pick was going to play a dozen snaps and be really good at setting the edge a couple of times a game, I don't think that that's what you would have wanted out of that.
Of course not. I think people just text you because you were very, very, very
anti that pick.
Not just the pick. There were some times where it seemed a little, I don't want to say personal, but it
Not
got
personal with FAU.
It
I
got a
don't think it's
little
Anti-K-State, anti-FAU.
It got a little outside football, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
Good
what
for,
I think
he
people
did have
are.
a couple of nice plays. Good for FAU.
All right, up next, we're expected to hear from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid. We'll find out how he's feeling heading into their 7th AFC title game.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
This weather can wreak havoc on your roof. Century Roofing is celebrating 35 years of protecting KC homes and has been voted best in Johnson County for a 3rd year in a row. Take a look. Keep an eye out for those signs of roof damage. Maybe you hear a leak, those storms, the cold weather, the ice. All of those things can find their little creaks in there. And Century Roofing, because they've been doing roofs for 35 years, can be trusted to help determine that. They can help assess damage, help determine if it's time to file a claim. They're doing some repair work on our roof, those types of things, so you can be trusted with a KC-based and female-owned roofing company. Again, they're doing material upgrades for the 35th year, so you know that they're going to take care of you. But again, it's a lot like people will knock on your door and they'll tell you can trust them. Trust somebody who's been in Kansas City this long, so you know that you're dealing with it. There was hail over the summer. Maybe you forgot to get it checked in. Now all this ice and snow, another great time to check it, which is why Century Roofing is the perfect place for you to trust if you need roofing work in the area. Schedule your estimate today from KC-based and female-owned Century Roofing. Trust the pillars of strength. Go to CenturyRoofingKC.com and tell them that Cody sent you.
Now that the holidays are over, the cold weather's here, and the kids are back to their routines, we're loving Hy-Vee's Aisles Online. They make it so easy to get our groceries. All you have to do is download the app or go to Hy-Vee.com. Choose your store, select your items, and Hy-Vee does all the shopping. All you got to do is pick up your order or have it delivered to your home. And listen to this. Right now, you're going to get $10 off any $125 Aisles Online purchase. Save time, save money. What could be better? Only at Hy-Vee.
It's cold outside, and the cupboard is bare. No worries. Let Hy-Vee do the shopping with Aisles Online. It's easy. Go to Hy-Vee.com, choose your store, select your items, and schedule a convenient pickup or delivery time. Right now, get $10 off any $125 Aisles Online purchase. What could be better? We do the shopping and deliver your groceries. You stay warm and save money. Download the Aisles Online app or go to Hy-Vee.com today.
Your skin tells a story. At KMC Dermatology and Med Spa, we understand that stress, time, and life can leave their mark, but it's never too late to refresh, renew, and restore your skin. With 25 expert providers across multiple locations, we make glowing skin easy. Same week appointments? Absolutely. Select Saturday appointments available? You got it. From medical dermatology to advanced aesthetic treatments, we're here to help you look and feel your best. Schedule your appointment today at kmcpa.com. KMC Dermatology and Med Spa. Beyond the surface.
Presenting Again Fling's love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 $200 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 965. That's code 965 for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over, Kansas only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort.
Noon hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. It is time to hear from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid. His press conferences are sponsored by Arvest Bank, making banking easier for customers for more than 60 years. Arvest Bank, proud to serve Chiefs Kingdom, and also by Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Discover the benefit of blue.
And that's half the battle. It's not how much you blitz. It's just how you utilize the blitzes and when you utilize them. So he's got a great feel for that.
Yeah, how did he get that touch for doing that? And I know you had to coach against him. I know it's been a while now, but you coached against him before. What's it like calling plays against his defenses?
Yeah, so it's obviously tough. I mean, he gives you a lot of different looks. Matt Nagy will tell you that when you talk to him. He more recently has gone against him, and so he's tough to go against with the different combinations that he has. So he does a heck of a job with it.
We'll go next to Sam McDowell. Sam?
Hey, Andy. Just a quick two-part question here, but the first half, I wonder if you could take us through the 4th and 1 play. First, the decision to go for it, and then also the execution of that play.
Yeah, I thought we did a good job with the execution. We've tried to stay aggressive on 4th down within reason throughout the season, but that was the idea behind it. The execution of the play, I thought we blocked it well, which ends up being important. And then the ability of Kareem to kind of bounce off of things and his lateral cutting ability there.
Speaking of that, just wondered if you could, how have you just seen him embrace short yardage situations as a whole? I mean, I know that's been his reputation, but particularly this year, just how good he's been in short yardage for you.
Yeah, he's done a nice job for us. Kareem is a big kid and he's got a good low center of gravity and he's got great vision and lateral cutting ability. So that fits in well with your short yardage game. There's usually, Sam, there's not a lot of space in there normally. And so for you to be able to squeeze through those tight holes, and he does a good job with it. He has a knack of being able to kind of cut his body in half sideways by going sideways and still moving forward.
You're listening to the Andy Reid press conference here on 96.5 The Fan, KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 in Kansas City.
Considering you guys have, film to watch from the first matchup, just what do you think your defensive players and Steve Spagnuolo may have learned from that first game that can be applicable to Sunday's rematch?
Yeah, so one of the things we'll keep working on is you've got to be able to get off the field on 3rd downs. I mean, we keep stressing that, Steve does, and so we've got to you've got to be able to take care of those 3rd downs, especially when you've worked so hard to put yourself in a good position. So and they do it. Listen, the Bills do a heck of a job with that. They're really good football team offensively.
We'll go next to Pete Sweeney. Pete?
Coach, Jalen Watson returned. It looked like you guys might have been limiting his snaps. How did he come out of the game? And you feel like you'll be able to kind of increase that as we go here?
Hey, I actually came out feeling good, Pete. I mean, it was that's one of the positives that you come out with Jalen. He's he was fresh from the injury, and you hope that he can not have the swelling that was taking place before, and still function at a relatively high speed during the game. And I thought he did that. I thought he sustained when given that opportunity.
We'll go next to Vahe Gregorian. Go ahead, Vahe.
Hey, Andy, I'll have a quick follow-up also, Kelsey. I know this is hard to quantify, but when you see Travis in the postseason, how much do you think it's a function of the adrenaline for the postseason and the rest? Or is it one more than the other? Is it both that have led to, especially these last two postseason starts?
That's a good question, but I'm happy for him with the 7 catches and all that. But I think more of it is just we've got a variety of guys around him. I mean, the opportunities that he's had, he's done well with, and I don't think it's his play that has been reduced. Everybody asks about age, by age or physical ability or anything. I just think that you've got a variety of guys that we've been able to use around him, and when we didn't, then teams were ganging up on him. So it's a good problem now because guys are healthy and we've got choices out there, and they can't really just focus on him.
And the follow-up, Andy, is I know you're big on the guys who are energy givers, and I assume Travis is one of the biggest of the energy givers. But I wonder if you could just describe how infectious that is and how it resonates with his teammates.
Yeah, but it's not only his energy; it's that positive mindset that you can do anything, and I think he does a great job with that, and being able to show it to the guys that, listen, we come together the right way, anything's possible. So that's the thing I appreciate him the most. I also appreciate that at his age, he goes out there every day and practices hard. I mean, and if you try to take him out, he gets mad at you. So I think that's a special thing, for an older player.
We'll go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, I have a quick housekeeping question and a second question, Kelsey. But Coach, on McCole, his practice window closes this week. Do you expect that, is there a possibility that maybe he'll end the season on IR, or would you like to get him activated this week?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes here. Just I haven't made any decisions on that yet, Matt. So, but he's worked hard to try to get himself back and get going. But we'll see how that works out.
And I'm curious on just your additional watch. What you thought about the offensive line play on Saturday, and especially the left tackle spot.
Yeah, first I'd give credit to the Texans. I mean, that defense is a good defense, real good defense, and that defensive line is a big challenge, as it will be this week. This defensive line likewise is a big challenge. So, but I thought our guys held up well against them, and we did some good things in the run game, and did some good things in our play pass game. So we were decent on third down. So I think all around it was good against who we were playing against.
We'll go next to Nick Jacobs. Nick?
And Kelsey, I'll have a follow-up if I can, please. Andy, from 2017 when Kareem was a rookie until now, what ways have you seen him grow as a player? And how much do you appreciate that he's getting this moment and this opportunity?
Yeah, Nick, I mean, he's able to speak up now because he's been there. He's got that senior leadership thing going. And so as much of an energy giver as we were just talking about Trav, Kareem does the same thing. He brings it a little different way, but he brings it, that toughness, that you get he and Pacheco out there. I mean, there's a whole lot of energy coming off of those two. So, and that's appreciated. But that's probably where I tell you, he doesn't feel like the young guy on the team anymore. He's the veteran guy, and he knows guys will listen to him, and he can help set a tempo. All those things, Nick, that comes with being a veteran.
And then for like DeAndre, Hollywood, Kareem, and some of those rookies, what does it mean to you as a coach to kind of give them this moment to where they do get to play in an AFC Championship game, and no matter what happens, they have that on their bucket list checked off type of thing?
Yeah, Nick, that's kind of a neat deal. DeAndre, I mean, he's been doing it 12 years. And so I said, hey, you never been to this one, have you? And he said, no. But it's, and we're able to go against a real good football team here. And so that competition level will be at its highest point. That's why we're all in this thing. So for him to have that opportunity to experience that part, as great as he is, to even be able to have to take it up one more notch is something that'll be new for him. So I think that's a great thing for the young guys. It'll be a good experience for them going forward, and they can learn from it. And we'll tell them what it's all about. The players will tell them what it's all about. But until you get out there and feel that energy, you really don't know. But it'll be good for them to get through it.
We have two more for you, Coach. We'll go first to Todd Lebo. Todd?
Coach, on that front, this round of the playoffs, the Bills are their second chance to try to get you guys in this round. You didn't get through right away at Philadelphia. What is it about this round? I know you're playing a good team, but is there anything else about this round that is special over the others?
Yeah, well, the fact that we're at home is a real positive, I think. We've got to play well. I know, whether we're favored or not favored, I don't know. I presume they'll probably be favored, but that's all right. We do our thing as we go into this, and we don't worry about all that noise. So, but it's a high level of football, and you've got to handle it that way. I mean, you get to test yourself, and at close to the highest level. Besides Super Bowl, this is the highest level. So I think that's kind of what it's all about for coaches and players.
We have one last one for you, Coach. We'll go to Seren Petro. Seren?
Thank you. And I'll have a follow-up too, Kelsey. Coach, first of all, your pass rush obviously was great. George had a big day just all around, and it's really stepped up coming down the stretch. How much of that is just maybe Charles Omenihu, having the depth of rushers, or is it schematically that Spags did something differently? Because you really kind of struggled compared to where you were last year early on. Now, you're playing your best when it comes to getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, sure. No, Spags done a good job. We talked about that. But the players also have to step up, and that's what the guys have done a nice job with. I'm so proud of them for that. Joe Cullen does a heck of a job with that defensive line, and George had a big day, just being as relentless as he is, and how much work he puts into the game, and making sure he's physically right and so on. It's a real tribute to him and his effort. And then Charles, it's been great to have Charles in there. I don't think you're missing a point there at all. He's a good passer. He's a good football player. So that helps a lot to have him in there, and Chris Jones likewise, and Mike, who doesn't get any of the glory. He's a good football player too. So he kind of does the dirty work. So doesn't get much praise for it.
And then finally, Coach, we hear a lot about like the middle eight, last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half. I mean, the Texans really got a dream scenario. They basically had the ball for 15 minutes of game time there. I'm just, on the offensive side, you guys, a lot of times that could seemingly, make you cold, rusty at halftime. And then I think it was maybe more than an hour before the offense really got to go out there and execute. Yet you came out and went down the field. What are you doing during all that time? What do you do to keep everybody focused, sharp, and make sure that, the Texans aren't, basically icing your offense?
Yeah. It was a pretty cold day too. That well-used words there. So the guys, they stay focused, and they have a purpose coming out that second half, which is important. That's something that we've worked on here this season. We weren't very good at that beginning of the season, and we try to really focus in on that. Whether that's staying warm and loose and all that, that's also part of it. But staying in tune with the game, I think, is big. And yeah, 15 play drives and 14 play drives back to back used up a lot of time for both teams. So, yeah, but I'm glad we were able to put it together. I appreciate the focus that went into it, I guess, to answer your question. And that covers a lot of space when you use that word. But the guys, they kept themselves ready to go.
Coach, that's all we have for you.
All right, so that was Andy Reid right here on your home for the Chiefs, 96.5 The Fan. This is Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Here in about 15 minutes, we'll get to, of course, what is louder than ever, which is these crazy conspiracy theories around the Chiefs and the NFL. A lot of whining. It's something we've discussed on the show before this week, but now I think we've officially, we had maybe a lot of times like when you have a disease, you wait for you have the main medicine, then you got the generic or whatever. Like CDS is officially what we have in Chiefs derangement syndrome that's out there across the league, and I don't know what the cure is at this point in time. Someone's got to do
somebody else winning, I guess. Would probably do it. A bad call against Kansas City; those have never happened.
We'll get to that a little bit, but what Andy said about even Buffalo, I thought was interesting. It sounds kind of obvious, but he said, "Hey, what did we learn?" He was asked, "What did you learn maybe from playing Buffalo in Week 11?" And he said, "Hey, we got to get them off the field on third down." I went back and looked; the Bills were 9 of 15. On third down.
And several third and longs, which has been kind of a theme of the NFL playoffs in general.
Right. And the Chiefs at times this year struggled on third down defensively anyway. But the Bills were 9 of 15 in that game. The Chiefs had the 2 turnovers, as we already brought up. It's pretty obvious. Yeah. Like if the Bills go 9 of 15 again on third down, that's a big problem on Sunday night at Arrowhead.
The problem is if they get to 3rd and 3 or less, it's a lock, in my opinion. They've proven a willingness to be aggressive because all they got to do is get 1 to 2 yards to make it 4th and 1 or 2. And if it's Josh Allen in 4th or 1 or 2, that's 100% conversion rate or 98% conversion rate, which means they're going to go for it, which always boils down to the same thing. Can you stop the run on 1st or 2nd down, or can you stop it from being 3rd and 3? If it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, they'll go 9 and 15 on 3rd down again, and they'll run into the exact same problem they did before. That game's funny because it was the Chiefs were up by 14-13. Then the Bills took the lead back pretty quick, 16-14. Then it was like a 4th quarter touchdown that stretched it out. Kansas City immediately got it back within 2, and it seemed like they might have a chance. And they got the Bills back in some like 3rd and mediums, only to make it 4th and short, only to have Josh Allen have a super long 4th down run that iced the game. And so it's easier said than done, especially in the postseason. Like you look back to last night's game, in my opinion, the Ravens or whatever. When they know they got 4 downs to work with, the Bills are a really tough team to slow down when they know they got 4. And 4th and 1 or 2 is going to be a go for them.
There's an advantage when
huge chance.
There's a massive advantage when you know, like your OC has the backing of your head coach to go for it, and therefore you can call your 3rd downs differently. You hit on it, Cody. I mean, it's the Bills have done it. The teams that are live in the NFC. I mean, the Lions got all the pub all year. Like Dan Campbell,
Washington was incredibly aggressive.
That's what's funny is like they got going back to that game for a second. Yeah, the Commanders got beat the Lions at their own game. I mean, Dan Campbell got all the credit all year for being ultra aggressive and like, oh my gosh, he's a football guy and he's as aggressive as anybody and all this. Dan Quinn basically did what Dan Campbell's done all year, and it worked for them. It's a big reason why they won that football game. It's why Dan Quinn ultimately beat the Bucs the week before as well. That's who they are. They're very, you want to call it luck factor or whatever, but no, they go for all these 4th downs. It pays off, and they also have been so good in terms of not turning the ball over and the bounce going their way.
If you go back and look at that game against Kansas City, and I know we'll talk more about the issues with the refs and all that stuff in a minute, the easiest thing to know is that like every other playoff game, who controlled the offense and defensive line? Okay, well, on the defensive line, that was against the offensive line of the Texans. Fairly obvious who controlled that matchup. There were 8 sacks in the game. On the opposite end, I will say, and Andy Reid is right here, the first half of the game, one thing that did stand out, and I think we had mentioned in the show maybe later last week, is that I still probably undersold the Texans' defense a little bit because they were fast. They were on the ball quickly. They do have multiple players that seemingly can gum things up kind of immediately. They still had a good pass rush, and Will Anderson absolutely torched Joe Thuney on a snap, and it kind of looked rough. But I think it's correctly pointed out by Mina Kimes, who's been on the show a couple of times, It did look like one thing Andy did defensively or offensively that was smart against their defenses. He just avoided Stingley. He's like, you know what? I don't care. I'll throw it somewhere else. If he's going to be on the field, I'm going the opposite of him. And they did quick motion and they did quick passes. And that game came down to 7 possessions for Kansas City, 5 of which they scored on. But they had to settle for some field goals because of the red zone stuff and everything else in between. I came out of that game once again realizing the Chiefs can win in several different ways. And I can't say that about every team in the league. The Chiefs can win in 4 or 5 different ways a lot of weeks. I don't know that against the Bills. Maybe it's 2 or 3. But against the Texans, they could have won 10 different ways.
Right.
And still came out with the victory.
That's something that goes all the way back, last year, really. But even I remember after the Baltimore and Cincinnati games, the first 2 weeks of the season, we said it's, we joke because you have your poker games at your house. And I was like, it's kind of like that, man. There's more outs. You poker and talk about outs and everything like that. There's more outs for the Chiefs. They have more ways to win and have an out, to win that hand, to win that game, to win that snap than anybody else in the NFL. Whether you want to call it the Chiefs being inevitable and all that kind of stuff, fine. But yeah, I'm 100% with you. But that's just what they've been able to do. And as you people on the text line have pointed out, the Chiefs almost were like a bend but don't break defense at times in the game. Because the Texans
punt a bunch,
the Texans got the ball to the 50, and then they kind of hit a brick wall. It seemed like once they got to the 50-yard line or so for a variety of reasons.
And then because of their kicking trouble, that's a whole nother part of why they couldn't get points on the board. What the hell happened there? Their special teams coach, is he the guy who catches the arrow this morning? Somebody always gets fired after a postseason run.
He got fired. He got shoved by his own player at one play into the game after the kickoff. Player went nuts.
That was a particularly aggressive shove, we agree,
right? Was, yeah.
I've seen plenty of shoving on an NFL sideline. That was
emotions.
That was a shove.
We've all seen emotions. Hey, your competition. But that was the first play of the game, man. Like one play in and you're already shoving your coach. We've all seen it later in the game. Heck, we saw in the Super Bowl last year, Travis Kelce with Coach Reed there and everything. Like, it happens. But for it to be on the opening kickoff to be shoving your special teams, like you're already a little too wired up.
Out of curiosity, maybe somebody who's listening to the shows worked for the NFL can answer this. Because it's a sport, maybe it works different. If I shoved Alex like that, everyone's got to go to HR and answer questions about what happened.
That's true.
Drew's got to answer questions. If that happens, because you're not still allowed, just because they tackle each other doesn't mean you're allowed to assault a fellow member of the workforce. Do they have to go to HR?
No.
Do they have to answer in a football setting? Do you have to go
it's not the same workplace,
to the
man.
HR department and answer questions about this assault?
It happened on a football field. It's different.
You can't just sign away. You don't have to have a meeting?
No.
I think it's Cody. So if it happened in a team facility, like it was just during the week, and it wasn't playoffs or whatever, maybe they fine a player or something like that. But in a game, yeah, they can get away with more. It's not the same workplace
what if it's like
as
a
you
front
and
office member instead of a coach? It's like Brett Veach. There
might be a fine, but they're not like.
You don't think there's an HR meeting?
No.
You don't think there's like an anger, the classic HR
You know what they
meeting.
do in the NFL? If you're a crappy player, they cut your ass the next week. That's what they do. They say you're gone. So it does happen. There's
We
just
don't need an HR meeting.
It's a little bit different.
Cody, it's a sport where people use their heads to basically try to hurt other people.
But I don't think that just eliminates... just because I'm a construction worker working with doesn't mean I'm allowed to not have OSHA. I'm still allowed some workplace protections. I'm just saying.
Sure.
That's why I'm asking.
Yes, you were correct. If the special teams coordinator wants to be blackballed from the league and actually say that he needs to, then he can do that.
I was asking if it was mandatory. I'm not suggesting anyone ever actually calls the meeting. I'm asking if you're the HR
Cody's
professional at the Buffalo Bills building, do you
come
have to
on.
sit them down for a mandatory meeting to discuss workplace conflict resolution?
Yeah, I mean,
I think it'd be really funny. It's kind of it's an interesting way to look about
Someone said, HR, you shove me and you better duck, Cody. Dang.
Drew, what would you do if Cody just shoved me randomly during the show? Like we got into a heated argument and he just shoved me. What would you do?
I don't know if I would say anything because I'd be too in shock.
He'd go to spec. He'd go to spec right away.
Would you go run to spec? Like, what do I do?
Drew Tattle. He just
a shove. No, what if there were punches thrown?
Oh, okay.
He's out the door to spec.
I'm not going to name it. In all seriousness, not going to name any names. I know at one point, within the last 10 years, there was actually maybe an issue in the building.
Yeah,
a fist fight.
Yeah, no, there was a suspension for a day or two over.
So yeah, there's your answer.
I would say if it wasn't, it might have been a full fist fight.
I wasn't here. I wasn't here at the time.
It was seemingly escalating.
This
to that.
predates Cody and I's show.
If you full on shoved Gold, I'd be like, all right. I try to calm things down, but if you start throwing punches, okay, yes, I'm going to spec after that. If I see a punch thrown, sorry
I just
about
think,
it.
man,
You did it to yourself.
Football, the locker room, the field, it's just it's not that you can't compare it to your workplace. So, no. It's a bad look for the player and the Texans. Obviously, you can't be doing that. But, no, nothing's going to happen from that.
I'm not going to snitch off of one shove. Like, look, like, relax. Like, you guys have gotten into it about a couple of things since I've been here. It never, of course, has escalated to that. If it got into a shoving match, I would be surprised, first and foremost.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about CDS. That's Chiefs Derangement Syndrome, and more people are infected by it than ever before.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
Man, if you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation, drive, gaining weight, you notice the signs, maybe a loss of muscle mass. The Low T Center can help you because all of those things could be a sign of low testosterone. Don't wait, find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test with an on-site lab that'll get your results back right there in the building. And the Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office. They have physicians who specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each individual patient, not your basic standard treatments, individualized, personalized treatment plans to optimize for each person going in. The experts at the Low have over a decade of experience helping patients, and that's why it's important. For current patients, Low T Center also offers $150 referral credit for each new patient that you refer. And at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications. So go get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com. Book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
How do you spot the all-new Nissan Rogue Rock Creek? Here's a hint. It's got all-terrain tires, a tubular roof rack you can't miss, and it's tough inside and out with lava red detailing. You'll also find it in its natural habitat, climbing mountains, attacking rugged trails, and never backing down from any adventure. The first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
Intelligent all-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Always secure cargo. Heavy loading of the vehicle with cargo, especially on the roof, will affect the handling and stability of the vehicle.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Mitch Holtis, voice of the Chiefs. Everyone develops cataracts naturally as they get older. When your vision is affected by cataracts, you should see my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein at Silverstein Eye Centers. Dr. Silverstein is a world-renowned cataract surgeon who performs life-changing laser-assisted cataract surgery with premium lens implants to correct your vision up close and far away. Trust my eye doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein, Silverstein Eye Centers, 816-358-3600 to schedule an appointment.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Hey, it's Karen with Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Ready to replace that roof? We have flexible financing options, 12 months same as cash, and don't make a payment for 90 days. And that's just one of many options we offer. Get on the schedule now with our in-house Consumer Credit Center. One call does it all for flexible payment options, affordability, and peace of mind. Visit shamrockroofer.com. That's shamrockroofer.com or call 1-866-932-3545 today.
When a KU versus K-State rivalry game begins, emotions run high, legends are created, school pride hangs in the balance, memories that last a lifetime will be made, because each game is the most important game in history. At least, until the next one. Get in the game with your chance to win up to $50,000. The Rivalry Riches instant ticket from the Kansas Lottery. See kslottery.com for details.
Real stories with Hellsberg.
After we met and we started dating, Nancy and I lived 150 miles apart, and I would drive my old jalopy car, and it was roughly a 3-hour distance. It took 3 years I drove across that state, back and forth, dating her every weekend.
Persistence.
And I would have never stopped. I had a lot of energy back then. 36 years ago.
At Hellsberg, find the engagement ring worthy of your story. Designed with the love, care, and craft it deserves. Visit a Hellsberg store or hellsberg.com.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most. Like dinner with loved ones. Letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at BlueKC.com.
Right now at Wendy's, get 2 of these fave items for just $7. The spicier classic chicken sandwich, Dave's single, or 10-piece nugs. It's an incredible deal, but an insanely difficult choice. Do you go double chicky sando, both spicy and classic, 1 beefy and 1 chicky? Or maybe you go all in on one and go Nug Max. 2 faves for just $7? Gotta be Wendy's.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time only. Select a request 2 for $7 deal to redeem. Not valid in a combo or with saucy nugs. Single item at regular price. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
Wanna play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with Dayquil VapoCool. It's Dayquil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let Mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is Dayquil VapoCool.
Dayquil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Metal by the Foot, your metal project superstore.
For over 36 years, Metal by the Foot has been your source for steel, aluminum, brass, and stainless. Located in Casey and Topeka. Online at metalbythefoot.com. When you need a piece of metal, remember, metal doesn't have to cost an arm or a leg, just the foot.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Kansas City a bit confused on defense, trying to switch things up with an extra defensive back. 3rd down and 8 for Stroud. Pushed, chased by Chris Jones, spun to the ground by Chris Jones. He corkscrews him into the ground at his own 40-yard line. It's a loss of 14 yards on a sack by Chris Jones.
Mitch Holthus on the call right here on your home for the Chiefs, 96.5 The Fan. It was interesting. Mitch mentioned right before the play, the Chiefs had some confusion in the secondary. Somebody ran on late, and yet it ended up still getting a sack on that play. One of 8 sacks for the Chiefs defense. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get to the random question of the day. I don't have to tell you guys know it's worse now than ever before, and that is the referee conspiracy theories that were once just like fringe opposing fans. That was it. You're like, okay, embrace the hate, move on. It's reached a level where now you have people that I actually think are fairly intelligent in the media nationally that are now not just going with there's a few favorable calls, going the full-fledged, the refs are in it, the league's in it, it's all rigged kind of thing. It's crazy, and it's why we've been calling it long before this weekend, but it's just now everybody's calling it the same thing. CDS, Chiefs Derangement Syndrome, is a very, very real thing, and it has caught on all across the country. It does start, as we said, with the first symptom of whining, and that your team has to lose to Patrick Mahomes, and then it's just exploded from there. It's just, we know that Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen, LeBron James, of course, I'm not saying that some quarterbacks don't have some calls go in their direction. We've acknowledged that. We've acknowledged
that's just a general part of sports.
Bad calls happen. We've acknowledged that. There was some bad calls in the Chiefs-Texans game. That's true. But it is now just gone overboard to the point where there's truly people out there, and don't tell me it's a small fraction anymore. It's not. It's a good chunk of the sports media and fans outside of Kansas City that truly believe that the league and that the refs have somehow conspired to make sure the Chiefs are winning games. That's how crazy this thing has gotten, Cody.
I guess what stands out, there's 2 things that really stand out about it. One is the number of people I respected as what I deemed intelligent football people who knew ball getting in on this. And I'm like, are you nuts? You're spewing this nonsense? And seemingly like a whole group of people who made the biggest play, the one that didn't even get a foul call. So like
the flop out of bounds.
Yeah,
right.
which is crazy.
There's no flag.
Right. There was no flag. They didn't call a penalty. The play continued as normal. So that part really, but like people I genuinely think understand and know football. Now I'll tell you, Skip Bayless is on your side. And if Skip Bayless is on your side, I would not recommend that the side to be on. If you have aligned yourself with Skip, think about what that says about you, not about the normal associate of people that exist inside of this world. This idea somehow that like the Chiefs are all in on the fix together with the referees. Like refereeing hasn't been bad this whole time.
And that's the thing, Cody. Bad. That was why we now it's funny to just point out any other game that has bad calls because we've all known that officials should be full-time. It's a problem. Officiating is bad in the NFL, and yes, it is a very hard job. But the point is, bad calls happen every single game. The ones in Chiefs games get talked about, one, because the narrative is now set by everybody.
And because they're on TV
and they're on TV. They're in prime time games. They're also in games that mean the most. And you know what? When there's a call that might break their way, that's fine. They take advantage of it. They unlike other teams that get a break, if some team doesn't take advantage of it, nobody cares. Nobody cares if, I used the example earlier, the Jags get a break in their game because nobody's watching the 4-win Jacksonville Jaguars.
They can get a phantom call for roughing the passer. And by the way, the roughing the passer calls went uncalled, so they called it correctly, right? 2 correct calls, 1 wrong call. They called the non-call on the flop correctly. They called the helmet to helmet, which it was, on the first one correctly. Even if it was borderline, it was correct. And they called the second one wrong. It was 2 Texans defenders who clapped helmets, not the other. They also could have stopped him the remaining 60 yards on that drive.
If you want to argue that calls are not consistent, I'm with you. Yeah, they're not consistent across the league. Game to game, week to week, we're all on the same page. What has driven me crazy to the point where now it just pisses me off, and that's why I've just decided now to just go completely overboard and troll on social media about it a little bit.
Out every wrong
is because the conspiracy aspect of it is there are actual numbers and facts I'm sure a lot of you have seen
that Mahomes is actually less likely
that show that these conspiracy theories are just flat out wrong, right? And it doesn't matter. You can show this to people, and I guess that goes with a lot of things in life nowadays, but it doesn't matter. People will still think they're correct, and they will still ignore reality, and that's what's happening. And the thing is, what we have to do, I guess, now in Kansas City and embrace is this is never ending. The narrative is set in stone now. There's no changing it. People have dug their heels in, and for the next decade, especially with the Chiefs going for a three-peat right now and maybe accomplishing that in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks, there's no going back. This is how people are going to talk about your team forever, and the more they win, this is how I'm going to talk about it. But anybody suggesting that the Chiefs are only a dynasty because of the refs cheating, hilarious, considering a lot of the noise is coming out of New England, where their franchise was literally cheating. Fact, cheating.
Yes. Everybody knows that it's the case, but that's the thing. The Mahomes era has actually been, and I know that this is going to come rich from Kansas City, but I trust you. I'm asking you if for some reason you're listening to the show and you're part of this delusion together that all seems to think the league is fixed for the Chiefs. It's actually been the opposite. They have been more likely to change a rule because of a different player than Kansas City to operate. So, for instance, the Chiefs submitted a rule after not getting a coin flip against Tom Brady. Tom Brady then won in overtime because the Chiefs never possessed the ball. They did not change the rule. The following year, Josh Allen had the same thing happen. He then asked for a rule change as an organization, to which it was then applied. Josh Allen, and look, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes never flopped. Josh Allen is notorious
the king of
for
flopping.
being one of the most egregious floppers in the NFL. They don't want any rule changes. Now the rest of the NFL is like, ban it, fine them. This is crazy. We can't live like this.
Josh Allen doesn't
because
win,
we saw
though.
Patrick
That's
Mahomes
exactly
do it.
it,
That's,
Drew. And
it's all about the winning.
That is all it is, and this is not the first time in sports it's happened. A winning team, people come up with reasons, but it is, maybe it's just social media in 2024, 2025, but it has reached an unbelievable. I don't know if I've seen. I know certainly since you and I been doing the show, even during this run with the Chiefs, that it's reached this level of not just hate, but conspiracy that it's all rigged kind of stuff. There are numbers. The Chiefs, for example, 7th worst penalty yards differential since 2018 in the fourth quarter and overtime when games are decided by a score.
He's league average at getting personal fouls of roughing the passer.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's nuts. It's definitely, we can call it Chiefs derangement syndrome, whatever you want to call it. That's exactly what's happened. And I feel like, I'll be honest, I guess what drives me more crazy about it is I feel like I've been pretty fair with the ref criticism. What I mean by that is a year ago, I got criticized by some of you guys when we were discussing the Kadarius Toney stuff. And last year when, of course, the offsides call happens and Mahomes was, for the first time in his career, publicly critical of an official and everybody trashed him. But then also, I think you and I disagreed on it, the Toney thing, and you're like, yeah, they don't call it. And I'm like, I hated how people in Kansas City blame the officials on the Kadarius Toney crap. I was like, no, be accountable. Kadarius Toney.
I didn't have a problem with calling the penalty.
Line up on sides.
Yeah. I just think cool plays should get a stand.
But people were blaming refs on the Kadarius Toney offsides. People were blaming refs on the Jawan Taylor stuff and all of that. They're at some point, just be better, make the adjustment. And there's nothing more loser than complaining about officials 24/7. We've all done it in our life, but not to the point of conspiracy theory. And that's where it's crossed the line here for me. Not just that you think it's a bad call, Mahomes shouldn't have been flagged or whatever. It's that you actually think, as a grown adult, it's okay if you're your 8-year-old and 9-year-old kid thinks something is against them, oh, my friend cheated, or Rob Collins had a great point. He's it reminds you of somebody that cheated. They think the video game system is against them or something, but they're 9 years old, not a 40-year-old grown-ass man in Houston, Texas, that thinks that the league got together to ensure that the Chiefs got favorable calls. It's stupid.
I was honestly shocked at the sheer number of people on board with this. National media,
Troy Aikman.
Like the entire
That hasn't helped.
broadcast
That
crew.
hasn't helped.
No, the broadcast crew. Troy Aikman was. And
He was not happy.
Troy Aikman, once tried to send off one snarky tweet to our Joshua Briscoe about the number of Super Bowl rings he had to compare to Patrick Mahomes.
Did he really?
Oh, dude, there was a whole thing. He once reacted on Twitter because they said Patrick Mahomes has 46% or whatever the number was of the career touchdowns of Troy Aikman in 8% of the games. And he said, talk to me when he's got 33%. That's what it was. Talk to me when he's got 33% of the rings.
Well,
he obviously now has 100% of the rings. And at the end of this year, very well could have 125%. So
you're saying this is why he has a little bit of a grudge against him.
I'm sure Troy Aikman wish he existed in a league that protected quarterbacks. And I saw part of this was, the side part of this was that it wasn't about Mahomes. And the people who were trying not to be like a conspiracy theorist, but being like, it's gone too far in the protection of quarterbacks. And to what I would say to you is, that's business. They pay these players $500 million if you're an NFL owner. They are going to do whatever they can to protect the life of it. They used to let quarterbacks get hit in the knee. And then Tom Brady's knee got ruined by Bernard Pollard, and they said, no. No more of that. You can't be going low on quarterbacks anymore. We're not allowing that. They make rules to support quarterbacks. That's how the league works. And I got nothing against that. They make the game more interesting. Coach, you mentioned snow football. I don't want to watch a bunch of games where Josh McCown is starting because the starting quarterback's out. I like them to play in the games. It makes the league more interesting, it turns out. So I have no problem with them keeping quarterbacks healthy, I guess, is the problem.
I do think there is part, and you, if you want to include me in this group, I guess you can. I'm not going to tell you whether I'm a part of this group or not. That when the NFL doesn't exist anymore and we're long and gone, that information comes out of, hey, the NFL actually was with the Chiefs in this, and they wanted them to do this. I think there's people who want that to happen because they want something to come out of it because they're hating on them. Like whether it be the Patriots fans or you can talk about any other fan base or the national media. They want something to come out eventually. Maybe not now, but after the dynasty's gone. Hey, by the way, there was something there.
I think it's
that's what people want. That's what they want.
It's a shared delusion, like if you belong to a cult.
Yeah, but like honestly, I truly during the Patriots run there was some conspiracies. Some of them were warranted because they actually got caught cheating. But now, whether it's social media or other things, I do think it's just more than ever, man. Like I look outside and the sky's blue, and you're like, no, it's not. I'm like, no, like literally, there's scientific evidence to show you not only with your eyes, but like it's blue, and like, but no, I believe it, and then like you just run with it, and now you have and it's way easier for you to just have an opinion on social media. That goes across the board for everything nowadays, and it's nuts stuff, man. It really is, and it shouldn't drive me as crazy. I've just had enough with it. This is not like the idea of the Chiefs get calls is not a new concept. It took a whole other level this weekend when all of a sudden people, pundits, and legit media members, I would say, across the country decided to go with this.
Just wait until something happens this weekend.
It's crazy.
Just wait until it happens this weekend.
Sure.
It's
There'll be missed calls this weekend. That's how it works.
I know, but I'm just saying it. There's going to be something that comes up where people are going to freak out.
Are we going to have the same energy?
To be that way.
You know, here's the difference. It'll be like this weekend because like it's just a law of averages thing. There'll be a couple of bad calls that go in favor of the Bills, but the Chiefs will still find some way to win, and they'll be like, see, you can overcome it. Because that's the whole point, is it sometimes bad calls go against you. It's are you a good enough team to overcome when they work against you. For instance, on the drive that they eventually got on Patrick Mahomes, what I thought was the only wrong call of the game, where the two Texans defenders clapped helmets together and they got 15 free yards. They called a hold on Trey Smith on that same drive.
It was not a hold.
It's egregious. He got pulled down by the defender. It was not a hold. It didn't stop the Chiefs from going down and scoring points, did it? No, they just went down and eventually scored. They just, whatever comes their way, the bad penalties, the good penalties, when they were picking on Jawan Taylor for a month straight. I'm not saying you can't complain that refs are bad at their job. We all agree there.
The refs
refs are bad at their job on purpose, specifically to go against your team that I'm against.
How many times do we see Josh Allen turn to the ref and just throw his hands up on a
lot
on Sunday?
He's definitely that. I mean,
I think it happens on a regular basis.
That's every quarterback does that. They're trying to get the call.
It's crazy.
Josh Allen is like the.
I agree.
He's
he does
the
it to
poster
a
child.
higher level. I don't disagree with that. It's definitely more than the other. It was a lot, man. It was a lot to take in this weekend. It was hard to look at. Meanwhile, they actually get the Bills, a real matchup between, I think, probably the two best teams in the AFC over the last 5 or 6 years. Pretty obviously, the Bills get to their second AFC championship game. This will be their second chance to take care of the Chiefs in this one. And my initial thought is like, oh, man, Bills are going to get one of these eventually, right? And then part of me is just like, their whole franchise suggests they lose this game. And the Chiefs have a chance to put the Bills so far under their thumb in the sense that Patrick Mahomes could eliminate Josh Allen from the playoffs 4 of the last 5 times he's been in it. How do you recover mentally if they just keep sticking your head under the water so you can't breathe? And that's what it feels like is on the line for this game for the Bills. Just permanent, like it's just over. Like, I don't care if you face them anytime in the playoffs. Are you ever going to get past them? Beat them in as many regular season games as you want.
Who cares? Don't care about the regular season.
The Bills looked good enough. They mostly capitalized on the mistakes by the Ravens, but that's what good teams do. I didn't think they were like, ooh, so impressive. Look at the unstoppable Bills. But they won. They beat a very good team in Baltimore at home, but now they got to go on the road to Kansas City. So I start to feel good again because Kansas City has beaten Buffalo a lot. And the time they lost this year was in Buffalo.
Right. And we'll later on in the week talk about some of the differences. I think the personnel-wise, there's some major differences from the Week 11 matchup when Kansas City lost by 9 points. Most notably on the defensive side, Jalen Watson, Charles Omenihu were not in that football game. I think Bills fans would tell you, hey, we didn't have Dalton Kincaid or Keon Coleman, which is a fair point as well. So there's some serious differences. I think the Chiefs are just playing better football at this point than they were in Week 11 when the defense was not near this level. So I'm excited for the match. I think we all are, right? This is ultimately when we go back to training camp in August and we're talking about the team and the three-peat quest and all that. Ultimately, this is the weekend when it really counts because the divisional round, Mahomes is now 7-0 in the divisional round.
I don't take that round serious anymore.
It's just a title game. They've lost in this game before. The Bills in the regular season have shown they can beat them. And even in the games that the Chiefs have beat the Bills in the playoffs, Josh Allen's played great. And it's been nail-biters. There was the one playoff game where the Chiefs won by a pretty comfortable margin. The first one, if I'm not mistaken. Early. But recently, these have been nail-biters. We pulled up the stats. If we include the regular season, the last 10 matchups, they have been dead even. Like literally, points scored, both teams dead even.
Both teams 5-5.
Yeah. Now in the playoffs, as you said, it's been different.
Very much so.
It's been different for them, and like I don't know. Like we'll have Mike Shope on later in the week. Ask the confidence. I don't know if as a Bills fan, I don't know how you could be confident in your team. I'm not saying you should think your team's going to lose, but I don't know how you could be confident if you're a Bills fan knowing the history that's happened in this
Here
game.
are the 3 games Josh Allen has played against Kansas City in the postseason. The first one in his second year in the league, so still an incredibly young player or as a starter. He lost to Kansas City 38-24. He went 28-48, 287, 2 touchdowns, and a pick.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he got sacked 5 times, so, it wasn't a very good effort. That was the one you were talking about. The next one was the 2022 42-36 game for Kansas City, in which he went 329 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and they still lost. And then, of course, last year, and that was the 13-second game at Arrowhead. That was the last time they faced an Arrowhead in the playoffs. And then last year against Kansas City, a 27-24 win, another incredibly close game. 186 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, and then he ran for quite a bit in addition to that. So he 12 carries for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns to be exact, not just quite a bit. He had a lot of yardage. If you're like, well, only 186 in the air. No, there's 72 on the ground and a couple more scores. So 3 total scores, almost 300 total yards, and no turnovers. And so in the last 2 games, he's brought it. Josh Allen has brought it. He's brought his A game to those.
And I expect that'll be the case Sunday night,
I do
man.
too.
And that's why
Mahomes going to have his best game.
Mahomes will have to elevate himself. Clearly the 2 turnovers that happened in Week 11, that happens again. They're probably not winning this football game. The Bills are probably saying the same thing. If they have 2 turnovers, they're probably not winning. I mean, the margins are very, very thin. We're talking about an AFC title game. But again, this go around, last year I still think was the best chance for the Bills to get them. It was in their building, and that wasn't the AFC title game. That was a divisional round game. But that was the best chance. The Chiefs offensively were still struggling, and they had to go on the road throughout. Now you're back at Arrowhead, and it's like you don't get many opportunities to win in your own building in an AFC title game. The Chiefs have made it seem like it's an easy thing. They've got 6 of these 7 at Arrowhead, but you just don't know. Like we all assume Josh Allen and Mahomes will play in another 4 of these against each other, but there's new quarterbacks coming to the league all the time. And if you're Josh Allen, once again, this seems like your chance to get it done.
You and I are both on this as a 50-50 game. We'll make our predictions later in the week, obviously, coin flip. Drew, I'll say in our group chat after the game, you, of all people, seemed oddly confident that this was a really, really, really good matchup for Kansas City.
Made me think he was emotionally hedging or something.
I don't know. No, explain your reason behind it. Because in our group chat, you were like, Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. This ends up looking great. Like, you felt very good after the game finished up for Buffalo.
Because I felt like, and maybe it was just the immediate reaction to watching Baltimore play, but the way that they played, I know that Josh Allen didn't have to be better than what he was, but he wasn't particularly great. I know that that's not going to be the conversation from this because how they're in the AFC title game, it doesn't matter. But if they tie the game up and Josh Allen doesn't go down in 90 seconds and they lose the game, the conversation, I think, would have been, Josh Allen did nothing in that game. It seemed like the Ravens lost the game more than the Bills won the game. And to me, I thought that just the way that they had been playing to finish the season, and I know, Cody, we had brought up before the opponents that the Ravens had gone through, still being first in every single category from a total passing yards allowed, passing efficiency, all that stuff, from being almost dead last in Week 11 when they moved Hamilton up to high safety. I thought it was enough to really make a difference, maybe, I don't know, in how they even affected the Bills and how they did things. It just...
Bills just didn't have to work that hard on offense. The Ravens kept giving them the ball.
The Bills, it took the Ravens turning the ball over multiple times and a drop for the 2-point conversion for them to win that game, where the Chiefs are not going to make those mistakes. We know that because we've seen it time and time again, just as you guys have said going into the Houston Texans game. The Chiefs don't make those mistakes. That's why I think they should feel good about it, because in that game that they lost to Buffalo, Philly Buffalo played about as good as they could have. Chiefs didn't have certain players. Bills didn't either, but also Mahomes struggled in that game. Not one of his best games. The last one, he turned the ball over. So
playing way different
I felt more confident, I guess. If you're a Chiefs fan, I would feel better facing the Bills, given how they looked in that game against Baltimore, because you know that the Chiefs are better than Baltimore.
And maybe, if Baltimore had won that game, you'd be like, well, they got their dud out of the way with the turnover department, because they were just frivolous with the ball, obviously, in that game. But that's also why you and I wanted it. They're just more prone to have a dud of a game.
Lamar in that team is more likely to make mistakes, in my opinion, and it sounds like you too, than Buffalo. And that's why, the idea of, winning by a certain margin or whatever, I think either way it's an AFC title game. The chances of any team winning by a wide margin are pretty slim. But I think it's less likely against a team like Buffalo, because their quarterback, to me, is going to play at an extremely high level and not make mistakes. Now, the payoff here, though, is if you get Josh Allen to make one of those mistakes,
one of those old school Josh Allen regular season mistakes,
then it's not only game on, but it's big trouble for the Buffalo Bills at that point.
Same thing applies to Kansas City, which doesn't apply to any other team. And this is the normal, which is nice for the Chiefs. This is why they win so much, is that if they make mistakes, they got a better chance of winning in spite of those. Versus like every other team in the league, it's like if they start making those mistakes, overcoming it is nearly impossible. Chiefs had a lot of games with a negative turnover differential for the first half of the regular season this year, of which they were undefeated.
Yeah, the one that got
him in the mistake department was Buffalo.
Absolutely. And they gave up 30 points, and there was the crucial fourth down conversion by Josh Allen. That's where I think the defense is we're going to talk about this in the next segment. Let's talk about the defensive 8-sack performance. But in general, this defense is way better now than what it was back in Week 11. How did they come up with 8 sacks yesterday? Plus, Jay Binkley going to join us talk Chiefs, and it's a national title game tonight with Ohio State and Notre Dame.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5 The Fan.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most. Like dinner with loved ones. Letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at BlueKC.com.
What is GMTVCC? It's a mouthful, but translation for GMTVCC.com is Give Me the VIN Classic and Collector Cars. It's a brand new buying division of Give Me the VIN, but it's for classic and collector cars. Experienced pro buyers will appraise an offer on your 1970 Hemi Cuda or 1988 Fox Body Mustang or your granddad's old 1985 square body Chevy truck. GMTVCC.com is where you go to get real money for classic and collector cars to get paid now. That's GMTVCC.com, brought to you by Give Me the VIN.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of Kansas City. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of Kansas City. Enter now at overheaddoorkc.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorkc.com.
Men, the new year is here, and if you're like many of us, you're going to make a resolution to improve your health. But if you're feeling sluggish and low energy, if your sleep patterns are off, if you've been working out and aren't seeing the gains you used to see, making that resolution may not be so easy. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you're feeling the way I just described, we can likely help you with that resolution, because those symptoms probably mean you're suffering with low testosterone. And at Heartland Men's Health, we're experts in treating this condition. With our low T protocols, if you're like most men, the change will astound you. You'll feel more energy and better mental clarity, your sleep will improve, your workouts will be better, and you'll likely find your sex drive goes up as well. So call us today and get treated for your low T. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600. That's 844-447-6600. Or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
You're listening to Kickoff with Boomer and Valenti, locally here on 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. Kickoff with Boomer Esiason and Mike Valenti is presented locally by ESPN Bet Sportsbook.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to rexbuyskc.com. That's rexbuyskc.com, and I look forward to working with you.
I'm Mitch Holtis, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Choosing the best doctor for your eyes is one of the most important medical decisions you'll ever make. Whether you're considering blade-free LASIK, all laser cataract surgery, and premium lens implants, or want a world-renowned doctor to help with your glaucoma, macular degeneration, dry eyes, or diabetes, trust my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein. Call Silverstein Eye Centers to make an appointment, 816-358-3600. Experience the best eye care in Kansas City.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay and any voice line. Plus, Price Lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
What's up, KC? It's Hollywood Brown. Catch the play-by-play all season long with Mitch, Dana, and Clean right here on your home of Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan.
KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Here in about 7 minutes or so, our guy Jay Binkley going to join us. You know he's got some thoughts.
All things football.
You know he's got some thoughts on the Chiefs. Also, what's going on in the NFL. Plus, there's a national title game tonight. Ohio State and Notre Dame. We haven't spent much time on that for obvious reasons. The Chiefs are headed to their 7th straight AFC title game, but we'll squeeze that in with big. I know, no big deal. Arrowhead Invitational.
It is kind of like
Part 6.
But you have to admit, you become a little numb to it. Sure. It doesn't feel like just getting to this game doesn't feel as big as it did at some point in your life.
No.
The first time they made an AFC championship game in your life, Golden, Joe Montana's leading the way. No, I guess you probably weren't. You don't remember
For me,
it
was Mahomes.
Fine.
For me, I was way too young to remember. I mean, I was what? I would have been, what was that, 93? Is that right? 93 was when it happened, or 95?
Yeah, no, not 90.
What would that have been?
Later than those. Wait, no. Maybe that year. No, I can't remember.
I would have been like anywhere from 3 to 5 years old. So no, of course, you're right that there's a different feeling heading into these games than there were 5-6 years ago.
I was get the years confused.
But
93, you were right.
Oh, it was 93. Okay. I was 2. Okay, I was 2 years old. So
you don't remember
I
that
don't. But
Drew was negative like 7 or
That's
something.
true. But I think there's definitely also because of the 2-week gap once you get to a Super Bowl and all the attention that your franchise gets, there is definitely that like get to the Super Bowl and then like there's for a fan base at least at some point it's like, all right, well, you're going for a 3-peat, but you also made it to the biggest game on earth again, and everything that comes with that, and the new shirts you can go and buy. By the way, we're going to be at Rally House this Friday in Oak Park. More details
I haven't got
later
official,
on the week.
but I assume so. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there pretty soon. Who knows? By Sunday at midnight, you might be able to buy a new Super Bowl shirt, baby.
AFC champion. Here
And
comes
a
the Super Bowl.
shirt.
2 teams on it. It certainly is probably heading, I don't know, I mean, obviously it's at least a 50-50 shot at worst. And a huge reason why I think they won this game and why I've got even more confidence in them now than I did before, and especially against that Buffalo game, and I think later in the week we'll talk about the specific guys are missing and what they add, is because, once again, this team does not need elite-level offense to win a football game. Yesterday was a prime example of that. They were not elite on offense. Were they pretty good? Yeah. Was Travis Kelce elite? Hell yeah. Did Patrick Mahomes make some ludicrous runs or throws like in every playoff game? Sure did. But they were not like moving the ball with no trouble, 0 holding things. No. The Chiefs defense, though, had 8 sacks. They held Nico Collins, who I think is one of the better receivers in the NFL, down completely. The only offensive player who even sniffed some success in that game for the Texans was Joe Mixon. And that might have just been because they conceded it. Fine, Joe Mixon, you want to go for 80 yards? Go nuts. We're not getting beat deep. They did have 2 long, I thought, third downs where it was like second and it seemed like a million to go, and they let up first downs on both of those drives that were concerning. Outside of that, I thought the defense played A- game. A game. And when they play like that defensively, I feel like they're going to win 90% of the time.
I don't have the numbers, but how often do you get sacked 8 times and win a football game? You know what I mean? Like you get sacked 8 times, you're not supposed to win that game. And there weren't the adjustments. I thought there was a clear coaching difference between. I think DeMeco Ryans is going to be a good coach in this league for a while, but I think you could tell the game plan and the in-game adjustments. You know, you have a tight end on George Karlaftis throughout the game, not every snap, but throughout the game, and he gets 3 sacks. Like you think that matchup is going to work throughout the entire game? And that's a mismatch, clearly.
I can't believe they never adjusted. Chris Jones dominated that game, too.
And on the offensive side, of course, Travis Kelce was wide open, but we're talking about defense right here. And I just, the 4th and 10 that you guys both brought up, Drew and you, Cody, it's not even so much the decision. It's that you needed to make a decision. Instead, you waited until the play clock went down so much that by the time Stroud got to the line of scrimmage, he had no time to look over the defense and evaluate the coverage, and it set him back right away. Those are decisions you can't hesitate on in the postseason.
I do kind of expect, and I think it was pointed out over on the text line, the legendary lawyer points out that like they kind of expect a Leo Chenal, shadow of Josh Allen.
Absolutely. I think it has to happen.
I actually don't think that that's crazy because that's the way they beat you in which their offense is unstoppable. And the Bills' offense is not unstoppable, to be clear. They were a very good offense all year. They were, I'm assuming, a top 3 points per game offense in the NFL this season. Maybe not. Offense efficiency-wise, there's a lot more good offenses left in the NFL this year than good defenses left. All the defenses' efficiency ratings were about league average, except for Philadelphia, who was top 10 in both, essentially, at least on this end. Buffalo scored the second most points per game in the NFL. They're not unstoppable, but they are hard to stop if Josh Allen's legs are making it 3rd and 3, 4th and 2, 3rd and 2. Anytime they start getting into 2nd and 4s, 2nd and 5s, they're just guaranteed to get a new set of downs. And so, this whole thing, and defenses know this, is can you keep Josh Allen from ruining your day on 1st down? And the Chiefs have had difficulty in 3rd and long, and I'm not pretending that that's not the case. But I do think that at some point, that will be the way that they have to attack this. But the defense is playing better than it was in the middle of the year, Gold. This is more in line with how the defense did it in the first of these two, or the first, or even the first one, Gold, in the first Patrick Mahomes year, where the defense was kind of bad for 8 weeks and then got better. This defense was good for 6 weeks, bad for a while, and then really good again and now playing their best.
All right, let's welcome in our guy, Jay Binkley. In the past, he said things like this.
Do you like my tractor, baby?
Well, he's joining us right now. Bink, what's going on, my man?
What's going on, fellas? How we doing today? You ready for the Arrowhead Invitational?
Definitely. We were just saying how it's definitely not the same feeling maybe as the first go-around. We've been spoiled. But this week, it really, when you're going for a three-peat, knowing that they're 2 wins away now, and now the stakes are higher than ever.
Sure.
Divisional round, it's not the same feeling. There's definitely going to be more stress this week. There's definitely going to be, I think, more and more fans nervous as we get through the week.
You know what, Alex? I was like you. I was watching those games and all those penalties. I mean, man, I'm telling you what, those officials really wanted the Buffalo Bills to win.
That's right.
And I'm watching that. It was just up and down. And then the ratings come out. The day the Chiefs had the highest ratings ever on ESPN, 4 of the top 5 programs in the country involved the Kansas City Chiefs. People say they're not going to watch them. But, yeah, you know what they do? They watch them.
Binkley, there is no one I know on this planet. I mean that sincerely. There's no one on this planet I think watches more football overall than you. Are the refs good at their job?
No, the refs are horrible at their job. I can cite many things. I mean, do you remember the Indianapolis Colts game a couple years ago where Chris Jones gets a roughing the passer? There was a phantom call or some of the bad, horrible calls.
There was the one against Ryan when the Colts one. Is that the one where he said something mean to him? Is that what it was?
Yeah, and they lost 2 games last year. Not only Kadarius Toney, but they lost a couple games due to some bad officiating calls. And the stats would bear it out that even on 1st downs, on 3rd and long, the Chiefs have been penalized more than any team in the NFL, and not the other way around. But people don't want to hear that. Josh Allen's one of the biggest floppers. It was nice that Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football this morning admitted that. He said, hey, Josh Allen flops all the time and stuff like that. So they both do. They all do. Watch quarterbacks. Most quarterbacks will do a lot of the same things you saw from Mahomes.
Other than cheating, which the Patriots did, and I would say the Chiefs shouldn't do, why are we being mad at quarterbacks for trying to do anything to help their team win? If someone shoves you close to the sideline, you should put on a dog and pony show, especially if there's no rule against it stopping you from doing as much.
Well, it's what happens in sports. I'm not a huge fan of them doing it, but I understand why they do it because you want to keep your team's chances. Chiefs have a chance to do something no other team has done, and they do it. But, I've seen plenty of times Mahomes has been hit out of bounds and hadn't been flagged. I think we've all seen him being hit, late, but it did not draw a flag. And at some point, you're like, man, is he ever going to draw these flags? But he obviously got them this past week, but that's not always been the case.
We're talking to Jay Binkley here on 96.5 The Fan. As far as the actual game offensively, I don't know if we want to call it rust or whatever, but it wasn't always the smoothest operation. Ultimately, Travis Kelce went off and had a massive day, but only one wide receiver had a catch. My guess is there's no way that, one, that's going to happen on Sunday, but also if it does, then the Chiefs would be in big trouble.
It's interesting. I mean, you're right. They really didn't use the receivers. I think that DeAndre Hopkins was in with only 16 snaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was weird.
31%. Hollywood Brown, 37% of the snaps. So you didn't have a catch you had one target for Hopkins. It was strange. I wonder if he's 100%. But yeah, Xavier Worthy was really it was the only receiver to get a catch. in this game. Maybe they decided not to do it. Maybe there's more to it than what we know. But I will say this, DeAndre Hopkins has the longest streak in the National Football League with catches per game, and Travis Kelce's number 2. Now, thankfully, that's a regular season stat because that would have ended this weekend.
When you look at the game, was there any more singly impressive player than Travis Kelce? Like you mentioned him, it's just kind of nuts. At his age, at his position, he's not supposed to be continue to do this, torturing defenses.
No, it's interesting, and you see him getting open. I do think that's a byproduct sometimes of, even when Hopkins and Brown, were in there together, you do have to pay attention to them, and I think defenses do have to pay attention to them, and some of that, did open up Travis Kelce, especially across the middle. For some reason, teams just decide not to guard Kelce, even though he's very good at just finding that opening, probably the best we've ever seen at finding that opening, especially when you get to the postseason. But I do think having some of the other talent and some of that speed that these teams have to count for, the Worthy, the Hollywood Brown, you throw in a DeAndre Hopkins there at times, and that's going to open up things for Travis Kelce. Like, that is the one thing that's really going to open things up for him is if it's not Kelce, who's it going to be? Is it going to be then Worthy going off and having a game over 100 yards? Is it going to be Hopkins, having one of his type of games? I mean, who knows? But they're set up so somebody can be the start. I remember a couple of years ago, that first Super Bowl run the Chiefs went on, the first 6 weeks of the year, they had 6 different leading receivers. They then settled into Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce the rest of the way out. But, it's pick your poison the way that Andy Reid kind of likes to run this offense.
When you look at the running backs, I know over the last 6 games, Pacheco and Hunt actually have almost the identical yardage. 3 touchdowns, though, for Hunt, none for Pacheco. I don't know if it's a health thing. I don't know if it's a vision thing. Watching this past game as well, the first 8 plays, like 4 touches were for Pacheco. I think Kareem Hunt should be getting the first crack at this thing Sunday night. I'm not so sure Andy Reid and the Chiefs are going to do that, though.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, it's frustrating to watch games and you realize the Kareem Hunt's the best option they have. You go back to that Cleveland game, we're sitting there saying, what are they doing? Like 3rd and 4th and 1. I've heard of how much Isaiah Pacheco runs hard, and so many people talk, he just runs so hard. Well, that's true, but he doesn't do it on 3rd and 1, and he doesn't do it on 4th and 1. The Chiefs have a terrible time trying to pick up first downs when it's short yardage. To me, even though the numbers may look similar, Kareem Hunt has that knack, that veteran knack, to find that crease and get there and get that first down. To me, he is the better option for the Kansas City Chiefs at this point.
Binkley, before we get to the actual what's going to happen in the game tonight between Ohio State and Notre Dame, this is the only time I feel like, because I've got you on and it's a national championship game, so it's the last college game. Tell me one player on these two teams that's going to end up on the Chiefs next year, if you think so.
You know what? Well, definitely not Ohio State, unless Brett Beach went a different direction. But Brett Beach does not draft Ohio State players.
He has zero? Has he never drafted an Ohio State player?
I do not think so. I don't think there's ever been an Ohio State player drafted under Brett Beach in the Kansas City Chiefs. So that would be against, quote, that trend that they would do it. Although I would like to see Jeremiah Smith in a couple of years.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that ain't going to happen.
Freshman. He's just true freshman now, but and as I've said, weeks ago, I think he's better than Marvin Harrison Jr., to be honest with you. I think people are sleeping on this guy, and I think he's going to be better than him. It should be a good game tonight, though, fellas. I'm looking forward to it. Marcus Freeman, what he's doing. I'm shocked that Ryan Day's not getting the run that he should be getting.
Because he's an ass, Bink. People don't like him.
Well, they don't like him, but he just wins. You look at his track record, he just wins. Yes, he struggled against Michigan the last couple of years, but he does have a win against Michigan. So he has beaten them and a chance to, and he's got the best team in the country this year. It is interesting because he's got 2 stints as an NFL assistant coach. He's been a quarterback coach in the National Football League with 2 different teams. So he has that pedigree and experience. It's just shocking that you hear all the other names from college football mentioned, but you don't hear Ryan Day, and he has that NFL pedigree. And you know what? Why would he want to move? There's so much pressure at Ohio State. Why not go off to the NFL? But shocked we haven't heard Ryan Day more than what we have.
I think they were ready to fire him like a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
Legitimately like a month ago, Ohio State fans were ready to, drag him out of the building.
But that's more of a fan thing.
Kicking and screaming.
But that's still more of a fan thing.
That's true. And I remember Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler kind of defending him on the broadcast and Ryan Day and, the rest of the ESPN, the hot take shows that they have were ready to fire him. ready to move him out. If you haven't heard that, though, it was trending. Like, fire Ryan Day was trending after that Michigan, but it's gone quiet. But if you Google Ryan Day should be fired, it was a major trending thing on social media. But all of a sudden, with the chance of a national title tonight, those have completely silenced.
You think this game's close? Like, Notre Dame is obviously a heavy underdog, 8.5, 9.5 points, wherever it last landed. I think last I saw Notre Dame was maybe like plus 300 on the money line in order to do it. What do you think Notre Dame can keep this game closer than it looks like the Vegas thinks it'll be?
I do. I think this is going to be a Chiefs-type game that they've been winning this season. I think it's going to be a close game. Both these defenses are tremendous. And I do like Riley Leonard, even though sometimes he doesn't enamor you with his throwing stats, but on the ground, being the dual threat quarterback that he is, can pick up those first downs from Notre Dame. But both these defenses exceptional, so I do expect it to be closer. But I do expect Ohio State to win it. They're just too good. Will Howard, he's been incredible in the postseason. He's thrown for 300 yards 2 of the last 3 times, and last time it was only 289 yards that he threw. But he's making the right decisions, and I love that backfield that they got. And this is a tight-knit group because, like Jack Sawyer, the defensive end that picked up that scoop and score fumble last week, he was one of those guys. He had a chance to go to the NFL last year. I thought maybe he had a third-round type selection had he gone last year. But he, along with a lot of other players, they got in this group chat in the offseason, and the biggest impetus was, let's return. We got unfinished business to do. Let's try to bring everybody back, and clearly they didn't bring back Marvin Harrison Jr., but there was a lot of players that did come back because of Jack Sawyer to kind of complete this mission. So, hats off to him.
So who's winning next year's national title game? When you see it go, get out of the curve, Bank. Who's winning next year,
Well, you know what? What's weird is I saw a way too early top 25 by some college football.
way too early.
Kansas State and Missouri. You rarely seen that, but they had Ohio State still up there at the top, and they had Texas.
Yeah, those are the 2 favorites
3
for next year.
Hey, Missouri's going to be interesting because that Penn State backup quarterback, they got a lot of playing time, and the reason they beat Wisconsin this year, Bo Pribula transferred to Missouri, a great dual-threat quarterback, but he transferred to Missouri. They're going to get Sam Horn back, and they got Zollers coming in as well. So Missouri is loaded at the quarterback position. It's going to be fun to watch.
They couldn't even get to the college football playoff this year.
You know what, Cody? Last year they would have. I know that's woulda, coulda, shoulda, but
Well, their schedule was pretty soft this year. That's all. I feel like you only get occasional off years in the SEC, Bink.
No, this was the year to do it. Kansas has done well in the transfer portal as well. K-State's, banking and hoping Avery Johnson could do some good things for Kansas State. But this is going to be the year. Watch it be next year because everybody's expecting. It's like the Minnesota Twins. You expect them to be good, then they're bad. Or you expect them to be bad, then they're good. That's kind of what the Big 12 is going to be with KU and K-State. I think both of them will be back next year.
Lastly for you, do you think Deion Sanders ends up in the NFL this year?
Maybe. I don't want to see it. I think he's fun at college, and he's got one of the top quarterback recruits, 5-star kid coming to Colorado in the offseason. He's done a good job recruiting. I don't think he'll end up in the National Football League. I hope he stays at Colorado. Certainly, there's an opportunity. You never know what Jerry Jones is going to do. Jerry Jones can do what Jerry Jones wants to do, but I hope he stays at Colorado. But yeah, I'd say there's probably a 30%, 35% chance he goes to the NFL.
All right, Bank. Well, make sure you get the beer dropped off and delivered for the game tonight.
You know what? The delivery came about an hour ago.
Nice.
Oh, good to go.
And you know what? We have Championship Drive on now. We've got College Football Game Day for the last time coming on.
Let's go, Bink.
That's what I just said. Nobody watches more football than Binkley.
Hey, I'm ready. We get the McAfee sideline pass on ESPN2. We've got the ESPN Skycast on ESPNU, and we've got the 2 radio calls if you get on ESPN online. So I'm set, fellas.
All right, man. Good to hear from you. That's Jay Binkley. He'll be gearing up. Sounds like already geared up for the national title game tonight.
I didn't
the Skycast?
I didn't dig specifically into it. You mentioned the Deion and the Cowboys thing. Did I correctly see briefly earlier that Brian Schottenheimer is the favorite to be the Cowboys head coach? Was he on the staff last year for the Cowboys?
Updated odds have Brian Schottenheimer as like a minus 230 favorite. At one point, I want to remind you, though, at one point, Deion was the favorite. So this is something that's very volatile and everything like that. So it doesn't, I wouldn't.
It went from Deion to Brian Schottenheimer.
I don't think he was on their staff last year, or is he just like on the street somewhere? I don't know what Brian Schottenheimer does.
I'm not sure where he's at. But I would say that it was unlikely Deion was getting the job anyway. But
That'd be a pretty uninspired hire.
There were a lot more random head coach interviews, like Eddie George, who's a coach.
Well, he interviewed with the Bears.
Tennessee State interviewed with the Bears. Like they're going deep into
DraftKings for the odds for the next Cowboys coach. They've been on and off. Currently, Brian Schottenheimer minus 250. Kellen Moore is plus 250. The initial favorite was Dion. He's now 7.5 to 1 with 6 other coaches in front of him.
Brian Schottenheimer should be your guy. Apparently, he played at the University of Kansas.
Yeah, well, obviously there's a Schottenheimer connection.
Well,
he didn't sound too thrilled, Cody, by you saying that.
What? I was just pointing out that he's this guy.
No, I'm saying Gold didn't sound thrilled at all. Like, hey, he's a Kansas guy.
I mean, when's the last time you saw a guy who was literally just like a career OC? From 2006 to 2024, he has just been an offensive coordinator for 14 consecutive. That's got the most interim coach stink to it of all time. It feels like Jerry just wants to hire him so he can fire him in a year. He wants to put off the coaching process for 1 year, so he's going to hire Broughton. We've seen other organizations do this, and I always think it's a bad idea. This happened with the Texans. Are you just going to hire him just to keep him for a year, just to fire his ass?
It's like a gap year is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I think this goes back to
backpack.
It goes back to when we were discussing last week. Some of the Dallas reporters who were on the beat down there, they were discussing Jerry Jones, of course, wants credit for everything. And they're like, he wants an experienced coach, but he also doesn't want someone to overshadow him, which is a terrible philosophy to have as an owner. You're never going to get the right hire. But Brian Schottenheimer would fit that. Experienced coach, but people will give you credit if it works out, not Brian Schottenheimer. If you hire Dion's getting all the credit. And so it's a terrible way to go about it, but that makes sense. If Brian Schottenheimer's the guy, he can be like, well, I gave him his first opportunity to be a head coach. And so if they have success, Jerry Jones wants credit.
That's a wild
How many
way
owners
to work.
How many owners
It's a really bad way to work.
In sports in general, how many owners are out there while also having success? I can only think of Pat Riley, who's barely even out there, honestly, anyways.
Mark Cuban, maybe. But that's it. Yeah. Typically, I want my owner to hire the smart football people.
Doesn't work in football at all.
And that's it. I don't want my owner deciding who I should draft. Nope. I have football people that can do that. And the problem is the whole Jones family is involved in free agency and drafting and everything. And that's why they haven't been relevant in a very long time.
Yeah, they're one of the worst run franchises in the league. They're just better at hiding it because they still make the playoffs, even though they're dysfunctional.
Their owner says amazing things that are entertaining and provide content, and so everybody talks about them.
And did a hell of an acting job in Landman.
He did. I still haven't watched that. I need to.
No, but that one scene was pretty strong. Yeah. It's good effort by Jerry,
That's the trick. That's the trick. I watched that way too many times, that clip. I have it memorized. It's bad.
Why did you watch it so many times?
We were rolling it in a couple times. I have some of his monologue memorized. It's bad.
Why do you have it memorized?
Yeah, because John Hamm's sitting in the hospital bed, and Jerry Jones is talking about the oil and gas. He's like, I'm proud of them Cowboys. And then he's like,
you really have watched that a bunch of times.
He talks about his family, and he's like, that's the trick.
I'm an idiot.
Well, that's not from the movie. That's a different Jerry cut. That's not from the TV show. But anyway,
I do like that clip.
Up next, we'll get to what's trending and a little audio fun bag from the weekend.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
Missouri sports fans, I've got good news. Underdog is available to play in your state. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the playoffs. There's a championship tonight. Which players are going off? Which ones you don't trust? Over 5 million happy players, $2 billion won, and Underdog makes it easy to cash in on all of your favorite athletes' performances. You get to boost it up. Get Riley Leonard to go higher than half a passing touchdown, Henderson to go higher than 39.5 rushing yards, and Howard to go over 199.5 passing yards. Take those up 3 times, ish, is what you could get there. Cook up those fire entries, create them for all football, mix and match across other sports. Maybe you like some of the championship bets tonight, but you want to pair it up with the NBA. All those are available at Underdog. And with Underdog's double flex option, you can take losses and turn them into a W. You can say, well, I think 3 out of these 4 are going to hit. Or you can take 2 L's and turn them into a W. And every dog deserves a second chance. I got one this weekend with Underdog Rescues. You can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose. Underdog is the best place to play. Sign up and deposit now with promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. And if you're in Missouri, you'll get an additional $50 in bonus cash when you play your first $5 entry. That's promo code TAP. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. $10 deposit minimum. See UnderdogFantasy.com for terms and conditions. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Attention car shoppers, Kevin Harlan here with Rob Seid of Rob Seid Ford in South Kansas City. Hey Rob, what's going on?
We are making 2025 the best year in Rob Seid Ford history, and we are doing it with 4 simple steps.
Simple is what I love most about Rob Seid Ford. So Rob, what's the plan?
It starts with Rob Seid Ford's non-commissioned sales staff, Kansas City's lowest prices on brand new Fords, the best trade-in values, the biggest selection we've ever had. With those 4 steps, it is my personal mission to make Rob Seid Ford the easiest, most value-driven Ford dealership in Kansas City. No BS.
That's why Rob Seid Ford is the only dealership I'll send my friends and family to. But you're forgetting one thing.
What's that?
Rob Seid Ford is Kansas City's top-rated Google Ford dealership.
Good call. Can't forget about that. Check out Rob Seid Ford in South Kansas City at 135th and State Line, ROBSIGHT.com.
Your skin tells a story. At KMC Dermatology and Med Spa, we understand that stress, time, and life can leave their mark, but it's never too late to refresh, renew, and restore your skin. With 25 expert providers across multiple locations, we make glowing skin easy. Same week appointments? Absolutely. Select Saturday appointments available? You got it. From medical dermatology to advanced aesthetic treatments, we're here to help you look and feel your best. Schedule your appointment today at kmcpa.com. KMC Dermatology and Med Spa, beyond the surface.
Steve here for Connolly Plumbing Solutions, your neighborhood plumber. It's cold. I bet you are starting to notice your water heater is no longer keeping up as well as it used to. So, we are offering $200 off a tank-style water heater replacement, or if you want 1 hour-long shower or more, we can install a tankless water heater with $400 off. This month only, so call Connolly Plumbing Solutions at 913-768-7676 or visit ConnollyPlumbingSolutions.com to schedule.
I found a fountain of youth down there at QC Kinetics.
That's Henry Hinton, feeling like his young, active self again after treatments at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine.
I still have trouble walking down steps as I get older. I've had 1 treatment so far, and I can already tell a difference in my knee.
And that treatment at QC Kinetics used Henry's own natural healing properties, concentrated and placed right at the source of the pain. So Henry and patients just like him will enjoy long-term relief without surgery or downtime.
My knee is not hurting. I remember I was walking down some steps yesterday and I thought, wow, this is not hurting when I walk down steps. I'm all in on it. I'm all in on QC Kinetics.
It's time to wind back the clock to days without constant joint pain. Start with a call to QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ad paid for by Anthem Tax Services. Attention! If you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-217-1316 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-217-1316. That's 800-217-1316. Again, 800-217-1316.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer-dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour, split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
It's football season, and now you can get anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. Well, almost anything. You can't get a running back, but baby back ribs? Yes. Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL.
Chiefs coverage is brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction. ShamrockRoofer.com.
Hey folks, it's Karen from Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Thank you for making Shamrock Roofing one of the top 30 roofing companies in the nation. We're family owned and ready to help you with your roof today. Inspect, repair, replace. One call does it all at Shamrock Roofing. Visit ShamrockRoofer.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. What's trending?
What's trending here on Cody and Gold is brought to you by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. Of course, top on the list, Chiefs headed to their 7th straight AFC title game. Sunday night, right here on 96.5 The Fan against the Buffalo Bills. The earlier game will be the NFC title game, Commanders. Eagles, just like everybody thought months ago. Commanders,
There's not
Eagles.
a soul outside of Washington.
No,
even
not even
most of them.
no.
I'm saying there's probably like one Washington fan who was convinced, right? Like I'm sure there's one person who had the Commanders in the NFC title game, but it's less than 10 people on this planet, and those people were lying to themselves. So they managed to do it. But yeah, Commanders, Eagles, Chiefs, Bills. That's two pretty heavyweight. I'd say both feel like divisional matchups. One actually is. But at this point, the Chiefs and Bills have played each other so damn much, Gold. They should add them to division week. You know when Andy does that in the and we have to talk about it during training camp every year where they do the one whole week where they just dedicate to the other 3 teams in their division? Just go ahead and add the Bills to that. You think that makes sense? Just go toss them into the other 3 games and then get it matched up. Next up on What's Trending, National Championship game tonight, Ohio State and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, a pretty sizable underdog for a national championship game, not by college football standards. More than a touchdown underdog in the game tonight against Ohio State. Most people feel like you just got to figure out a way to stop Riley Leonard and you'll be in good shape. Former Kansas State quarterback Will Howard will be the starting quarterback, of course, for Ohio State for a chance at a national championship game tonight.
How about that? You leave K-State, you get paid a ton of money to go do it, and now you might win a national title. That's pretty cool.
This game starts at 6:30 tonight, according to the TV broadcast. Over under 10:30. 10:30 in time.
Under.
I'll take the over.
That would be
I might take the over at 11 o'clock.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, you want to make that bet?
On 11 o'clock?
Yeah.
I will also
I
bet
don't know how to make that bet.
No.
I will also bet you under 11 o'clock.
Here, you think the game's going to end after 11:01?
I do.
Let's
give me some odds.
What do you want?
I don't know, just 2-1. It don't have to be heavy odds. We can just do it for $10. We can keep it light and friendly.
Yeah. You good, Drew? You want to get on this?
10:59, 59. How do we do it?
Yeah. Any 11 when the clock
10:59 and a half.
The game will be over before the clock hits 11.
Yes.
Okay.
And you think it's going to be 11 o'clock?
I think it's 11 o'clock.
I'm in.
No.
I'm in.
Now,
$10.
will the coverage be on and stuff?
No,
That's
not
not
coverage.
It's about 0 on the clock,
Yeah.
like 0 on the play
overtime applies and all that. So if I get overtime, I get lucky.
If you get overtime, then it gets interesting. Then it becomes a sweat.
If we get to overtime, we might be in trouble.
Yeah, I'll take that bet.
I will as well.
Oh, I got to. Okay. So I'm in for.
Well, how?
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I'm in for 20 total. You guys are in for
10 apiece.
Technically, you're in for 20 if you lose, but you're not really in for.
We're good. That's
because
fine.
$10, you have to pay me 20 if I win. I could win
Yeah.
40.
I'll just. Okay, that's fine. I'll just say that works for me.
Okay.
Next up on What's Trending, the Blue Jays have signed outfielder Anthony Santander, reportedly a 5-year deal for $90 million. That's according to John Morosi. He was an interesting name we were keeping an eye on.
Little steep.
In terms of, I think he'd be a great fit here, but not at 5 for $90. That wasn't ever happening.
I'd be curious to ask JJ Piccolo as we maybe get through the Chiefs season eventually. We'll be happy to talk some Royals baseball, a team coming off the playoffs last year. But that's even higher than I would have been comfortable going, although I'd pay anything because it's just money. But it's just money in baseball. Have anybody seen the Dodgers? Mike, it's just money. You can just spend as much of it as you want, turns out. Dodgers have been proving that over and over and over again. Next up on what's trending local college hoops over the weekend, Kansas beat K-State 84-74. Missouri wins 83-65 over Arkansas, who's currently winless in the SEC under John Calipari. The AP Top 25 came out this week, by the way, or earlier today. MU ranked 22nd, KU ranked 12th.
There you go.
So MU back in the rankings.
They're in the rankings. Carrington was very happy. He came storming in the studio.
Is that what he was talking about?
Yeah, came in very happy.
He came in just be like, it feels... The Chiefs are in their 7th consecutive AFC title game, and the first thing Carrington Harrison said to us today, he walked in the door and he said, it feels good to wake up and cheer for the 22nd ranked team in America. And you're like, okay. I mean, it's fine, but like, there's way bigger. Yes,
it's weird.
That's exactly what he said.
It's January 20th. It's a poll, and also like it'd be one thing if you came in and you were ranked number 1 in the country. 22nd,
top 5, whatever. 22nd.
And this is not even an like KU versus MU thing. You guys know I've been on the record for years. I could give a bleep about any ranking. Whether when KU was preseason number 1, I said the same thing there. There's audio proof. This is not an MU hate thing. I think rankings are a waste of time. A giant waste of time.
Turns out Kansas being ranked number 1 preseason did not, in fact, make them
I've said this
title favorite in basketball this year.
With college football, with college basketball, the rankings don't mean a darn thing.
And you know who would have been ranked first in the NFL? The Detroit Lions. And where are they at right now?
Going into the postseason, people had them as in the power rankings. The Chiefs were not number 1 for a lot of people.
No, they might have been number 1 in the AFC in a while.
There was some people who were kind of making fun of the Vikings, or Dan Campbell specifically, because he said to Kevin O'Connell, I'll see you in 2 weeks, and they are going to see each other in 2 weeks in Cancun. That's
the Pro Bowl weekend. They're going to see each other in Orlando. Where are the Pro Bowl games at this year?
I think it's Orlando. Oh, is it Vegas?
I don't know.
We don't pay attention to those around here, so I'm not sure.
What's a Pro Bowl? And how do you?
I don't know.
How does your team play in those?
It is Orlando. I don't know what these Pro Bowl games are. The Chiefs really haven't played in them since they became the games instead of the Pro Bowl game, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Coached by Peyton and Eli.
Oh, is that? This is not even like, I truly have no clue how this thing works anymore.
All I know is that this is just a commercial-based thing. Peyton and Eli are like the coaches of teams.
Yes.
And they play games.
Flag football.
And if you said, is it just flag football?
Well, they play flag football.
And there's
like
other
the
things,
culmination.
You know?
They have
what are they playing? Water balloon fighting? What is going on here?
I think they do tug of war. There's a tug of war.
I don't know, man. I
think they have like a quarterback accuracy little drill or whatever.
Every year,
dodgeball is another one.
Every year the ratings come out, and there's like 18 million people who watch them, and I've never actually met any of those 18 million people, so I'm not totally sure.
Drew will watch because his guy will be
I've watched like individual things, and I like the first year they did the flag football thing. I checked it out a little bit. I thought it was fun. It was whatever, but I am by no means binge watching the Pro Bowl at all. I'll check in maybe here and there. Yeah, to see. I might see my guy Jamar Chase participate in the best catch or whatever.
There it is.
For things like refereeing and a million other things in this world, social media is the scourge of society, and it's genuinely an awful place most of the time. But for things like this, it's perfect. For the 2 cool things that happened on Pro Bowl weekend, I can just see a clip of it.
You're right.
I don't need to watch
100%.
it. Dude, for the 2 cool things that happened, I don't care if Joe Burrow does a back handspring and then throws a pass.
Hopefully not with that
in
wrist.
the middle of it. If that happens on Pro Bowl weekend, if Tyreek Hill jumps over like 4 guys in order to score a touchdown in a flag football game, and we laugh at that idiot who said that NFL players wouldn't make it in flag football in the Olympics, cool. I'll just watch it on social.
I forgot about that.
That's it. I'll just catch the 2 social things. It's fine.
Yeah, you don't need to watch it.
It's going to be an Olympic sport soon, dude. It matters more now. It's flag football thing. It's like a preview.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's get to the audio fun bag from the weekend. We start with John Gruden. Drew and I had mentioned to you a couple weeks ago that like he started working for Barstool, and that's fine if that's not content people want to consume or whatever. But like I think it's been really interesting.
I haven't really
some of the stories that Gruden has said, and some of them have related to the Chiefs. He told a story while they were watching the Chiefs game over the weekend about the old Gruden driving the bus around the stadium. Remember,
I tried to drive
we tried to drive around
track.
Kansas Speedway. It happened to be really rainy that day, so we had to spray champagne in the parking lot with my sunroof open. And Serta, at the time, was our producer. My car smelled like champagne for a week or so because it obviously
did not all stay on the outside of the car.
Anyway, this was Gruden telling the story about that whole thing, and I hope this is bleeped, Drew. Is it bleeped before?
So do I. I believe it is. No, I believe it is.
Okay. Have the
dump.
Dump button is ready then. Oh, boy.
Hey, we beat the Chiefs. the COVID year. You guys remember that year where there was just a few fans?
Yeah, you took the bus around the building, right?
So we won the game like 40-32. I get on the bus, and the bus driver turns around. He goes, "How's it feel to finally win a big game?" I swear. I said, "Why don't you drive this bus around Arrowhead Stadium until I tell you to go to the airport?" So he called the radio station.
Our station.
Crude said, she told us to drive around. And the Chiefs found out about it. So, we played them the next time in Vegas, and they were beating us at the end of the game, and a couple of their players were like, "Hey, man, we're going to drive the bus around your stadium." When they win a game, we used to ask the pilot if he could just veer off and take an extra 15 or 20 minutes so you can enjoy the win. You know what I mean? Because as soon as the plane lands, you're back into the next game. You know what I mean?
I am not totally sure why his impression of a Chiefs player sounds like Speedy Gonzalez in like a standoff. I'm not sure why that was the impression he went with, but honestly, it's pretty funny. The bus driver landed a zing. It pissed him off, so he told him to take some laps, and then it burned them real bad. Now, in fairness, when you said, how does it feel to finally win a big game? John Gruden at that point had won a Super Bowl, so it's a little funny to be like, how does it feel to finally win a big game?
That bus driver called in, or somebody from that called into this. I think it was the morning show. I think at the time it was
Can't remember, but I think
Fesco in the morning at the time. And yes, that's an all timer as well. The plane. Do you think the plane story is real, or is he just joking? Because he's gonna be like, we don't want to get home to our families at 3 a.m. We'd rather you just take another 25 minutes in the air to land.
Soak this up. I don't know, man. He made a bus driver do a lap just because he pissed him off for 2 seconds. I can't totally rule it out.
Based off of conversation with people that have been on those team charters, man, they're not, man. Basically, unlimited sounds like candy bar, and there's sandwiches ready the minute you walk on the flight, and then there's a whole meal that you can get on the flight. It sounds like a pretty incredible charter flight.
I know we've done a lot of fun calls over the years, but for the next one, the audio fun bag gold to dial up, I think let's get the call of Travis Kelce scoring the touchdown, but can we do the Korean call instead? Let's have a little fun in audio fun bag. We've certainly heard Mitch Holtis call Travis Kelce's remarkable touchdown catch on the throw that was amazing from Patrick Mahomes. Let's hear the Korean version of that.
자, 모처럼 마홈스가 한번 길게 크리스천 텍산스를 좀 뒤로 밀어냈습니다. 뒤쪽에서 블래치가 한 명 들어오는데 한가운데가 횡한이 열려 있습니다. 트래비스 켈시 더가요 20야드 10야드 5야드까지 트래비스 켈시. 역시나 이곳 에로헤드 스타디움은 트래비스 켈시의 안방입니다.
Every call in a different language sounds great.
And Royals June I don't care if it's Korean. On Twitter putting them out on Korean.
I don't care what language the call's in. They all sound great. They all sound great. We usually don't get these till the Super Bowl and stuff.
But credit to June over there on Twitter. Yeah. He's always posting. He's Korean, so he's constantly posting the Korean calls, and they are fun. One other thing I liked, and we can do a couple of these. One other thing I liked in pregame, and I'd send it to you, Gold. You were at the stadium, so you wouldn't have seen this.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins was talking on the field before the game.
I should have got a photo with him.
With Kirk Cousins? Yeah, you probably should have
got a photo with Kirk Cousins.
Was he close
I
to you?
did not see him. I should have.
He was on the field before the game, and he was talking about Patrick Mahomes' game. And I think he gave what is not. He wasn't doing it just to be funny. He was doing it because he's affable. But this is a brutally honest moment of when you watch Patrick Mahomes play. This is what he said the difference between the two of them is.
There's times where I watch Pat play, and it's hard to believe we play the same position. I look at my son, my 7-year-old son, Cooper, and I'll say, I feel like he's playing a different sport. It's like he knows the future. He knows that the end is going to be there, and he spins out of it, the field vision, the ease with which he plays. The game looks slow to him. In big moments, he plays it kind of like your brother plays it like he's in the schoolyard. I think they practice that way, and it shows in the way they play when the lights come on. But he's protected the football these last 6 games, hasn't turned it over.
It is kind of amazing. It's like we play the same sport, and sometimes I'm watching him play, and I'm like, I'm not so sure we're playing the same game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Kirk Cousins did not have a great year. I would say sounds like he's also got because I saw other clips. Sounds like he's got a future in broadcasting, at least from that role on set. I think he'd be really good at that.
Yeah,
I thought he was really good in some of the clips people were putting
at
out.
the table with Jason Kelce.
Yeah, I'm not saying calling games, but
he's good at calling games too. It's hard to say.
But I think
Alex Smith's great at it.
On the or just the set, where many years ago Hasselbeck did it. Like, there's no reason Kirk Cousins couldn't do it. Now he wants to play next year. I'm not saying he's retiring, but eventually I think he'll have opportunities to do that. Really smart guy and obviously well spoken as well. So,
I think the entire league's got to be feeling the way he feels. It's like, I'm sorry, is he just doing a different thing than the rest of us? It's like, I think they practice that way. Remember, Kirk Cousins famous for taking 1 day off a week, he says.
Yeah.
Personal time.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins doesn't. Kirky doesn't work on Wednesdays or whatever. I don't remember what day of the week it was. We learned that in Mahomes Quarterback, the Netflix series.
That's right. That's when the Coles cash doesn't expire. Make sure he goes there on that day. Also, Leo Chanel, I just want to play the audio of the call. Just another freaking blocked field goal. I mean, this guy, when he was drafted, I remember we just had Bink on, hyping up the athletic score and all this kind of stuff that he had, and we've seen it. It's really shown itself in the NFL.
Tommy Townsend holds it. Fairbairn. Blocked! It's blocked! The Chiefs blocked the field goal. Picked up on the near sideline. And hopping out of bounds with the football is Jaden Hicks.
Tommy Townsend, the former Chief, was on the hold.
You might remember Tommy Townsend's former punter here, Dustin Colco, was once very critical of Tommy Townsend's holding ability. We're big Tommy Townsend supporters
that
here.
had nothing to do with a bad hold. That was just another great opportunity the Chiefs took advantage of. It wasn't Justin Reed this time. It was Chanel. Again, both times, I guess. Sorry.
Chanel is an incredible athlete. Like, he is truly a special level athlete. He plays like 50% of the snaps. And, like, for a guy who only plays like 50% of the snaps, I feel like you notice him like 40% of the time. It's crazy. And always in the plays like this. He's always just, like, doing something kind of remarkable.
And the last bit of audio, I said that was the last one. I lied.
Oh, okay. One more?
One more. It's a Texans player.
Oh, God.
That if I didn't tell you who it was, you might say, man, that guy must have played for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Everybody know how it is playing up here. You can never leave it into the refs' hands, but I mean, the whole world see, man, like, what it is, bro. But it is what it is. You know, like I said, when it come down to it, you can't never leave it into the refs' hands, man, and things like that. But it's all good, though.
Sounds like a former Cincinnati Bengals. It's going to be really funny when he takes his buddy, your guy, in Cincinnati, and T. Higgins goes signs with the Texans this offseason. Then you'll really love him.
I'm always going to like Joe Mixon.
Really, dude? He was crying like a baby there. The entire team came in ready to blame the refs. It's nuts.
He's one of the best Bengals players in history. So I feel like as a Bengals fan, I should.
That's your guy.
Did you see?
I just got to be honest, man. That is a sad sentence.
Worst tweet of the
Joe
weekend.
Mixon being one of the best players in your team franchise history. That's sad.
One of the best running backs. Did you see? I don't.
You said players. I felt sad for a minute.
Did you see what Vontaze Burfict tweeted as well?
I did.
Yesterday.
Was he defending the refs?
Oh, no.
Was it a coherent tweet?
No, it was. He said, somebody sign me up so I can basically take care of Patrick Mahomes for everybody, please.
Yeah,
he essentially said that.
Yeah.
I was like, that is out of pocket.
That guy does suck.
Way out of pocket.
Yeah, he's not a great person, frankly. So
that was really bad.
I threatened to fight him, too.
That's
But I'm going to wait till
bag.
he's Romanowski's age.
No way. There's no way.
I said I'd wait till he's Roman. I want him to be a senior.
And so would Romanowski. Romanowski, as we said, is a little caught up with some legal matters. Otherwise, you might have your opportunity. Vontaze Burfict, crazy. I guess Romanowski was too, but like, yeah,
that was a crazy for him to send that. For him to actually send that tweet out. He didn't even play against Patrick Mahomes. He's never played against Patrick Mahomes before. I don't think. What made him send that?
I don't
because, as we said earlier, whether it's former players, prominent media members, people legit have this Chiefs derangement syndrome. They can't stand them, and that's where you're at, man. That's where you're at, and it's not changing anytime soon.
Text line is correct. I said one of the best players. Yes, Ickey Woods is a better player than Corey Dillon is a better Bengal than Joe Mixon. I'm just saying he's in that echelon of names that you bring up that you remember because he played there a long time.
There you go.
Doesn't typically happen, with the Bengals, obviously. Or do they have very much success, as you know?
Gotcha.
Joe Mixon I actually truly blame D'Amico Ryans. You cannot.
It did start at the top.
You came into you sat clearly they sat in meeting rooms and been like, hey, we're going to have to win in spite of the refs. You know what you should have done instead? Study like third down packages or something. Figure out how to not have your
cover
tight.
Travis Kelce. Goodness.
You know what? You could have studied instead of complaining about the refs in whatever meeting you had. You could have spent 5 more minutes figuring out how to get your tight end not to block George Karlaftis, and instead get an actual offensive lineman in the game.
His effort too in blocking. There was one particular one that they showed. Dalton Schultz did not care to block George Karlaftis. Or it was Chris Jones or whatever. He was chipping somebody, and he just kind of he brushed him off.
I mean, you could have spent that time. You could have just it'd have been a better 5 minutes spent praying to the gods above that you got past Kansas City than spending the time in that meeting saying we're going to have to also beat the refs.
Yeah, people in the text are saying that you might have got by a parody account. I don't know if that's true.
Look, I'm glad that it's a parody account because that was some.
People are saying that wasn't real, Drew. I don't know.
That was some. That was really.
Not
bad.
sure. I hadn't seen that, so I didn't want to.
Look,
I couldn't say one way or the other.
The reaction to it though is maybe that's something Vontaze Burfict actually might say.
I mean, yeah,
I'm glad that it's not him. If it's not him, I'm glad that it's that.
The best parody accounts are the ones who say something that actually seems semi-believable. You're like, I can't rule out that this is made up because you have said things like this before.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem crazy. Man, what a weekend, Just Chiefs in another AFC title game. No big deal, Gold. I've been doing this show since January of 2020. It is now January of 2025. And in those 5 years, you and I have watched the Chiefs go to the AFC title game, 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 and go to 3 Super Bowls and win back-to-back. Pretty good. Not bad. Or go to 4 Super Bowls, win 3. And win back-to-back, and with a chance in the final 4 teams of winning 3 in a row.
Just honest, a ridiculous time to be
it'll never get better than this.
No, you'll
have to accept that, but
this is as good as it gets, man. This is as good as it gets. We got a long week ahead. It's probably going to drag on later on this week, I'll be honest. Usually that's how these AFC title game weeks get. We get to Wednesday or Thursday, and we're like, all right, let's just get to the freaking game. That's how we'll be, I'm sure, in a couple days. But tomorrow, Vinny Pasquantino, our NFL insider, is going to join us. Nate Taylor expected to join us as well. We got a lot more to talk about, some things that happen in game, right? We didn't get to Xavier Worthy's performance. We didn't have a chance to talk about Charles Omenihu. We've got a lot to address still tomorrow on the show. For now, though, we're going to have things off to CDOT and Rob.